sports teams live on Woodward.
All of Detroit's sports coverage lives on Woodward Sports.
Driving the best in Detroit sports coverage.
Good morning. It's the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. It's Monday, July 17th. Hope everybody had a great weekend. Thank you for choosing us this morning. We got a packed show planned for you guys today. A lot of Lions talk, a little bit of Pistons talk. I mean, you saw Mark Sasser over the weekend. He's kind of forcing us to talk about the Detroit Pistons. We'll be having our expert, Brandon, a.k.a. Detroit Kool-Aid, break him down in the second hour. But we have to start off with most recent news, which DeAndre Hopkins, signed a contract finally with the Tennessee Titans. And we'll get into that very soon. But before we do that, we got Sam Flannel, JB, Gabby D. Phillips, Alex Westfall, and JB is actually back. So I got to take a second to say welcome back, JB. Matt Broder did a good job, but we're happy to have the legend back this morning, JB Smooth. How you doing? How was your weekend?
The legend. Wow, man. Dude, you give me a lot of praise for that, but I appreciate Broder for standing in for me, man. How are you guys doing today?
We're doing good, man. A good weekend. Sam, you were busy this weekend. You were out in Grand Rapids. How was that?
Oh, it was great. I met a couple of my oldest friends for Upheaval Festival, which is a music festival that's held annually in Grand Rapids, kind of more of a metalcore style festival. The show that I was most excited to see was, of course, Falling in Reverse, and they kind of closed out the night. It was awesome. They played a couple of my favorite songs, like Fashionably Late and Fuck You and All Your Friends. That's the actual title of the song. But, as usual with them, there are a few I wish they would have played, but they didn't. But overall, a great experience. It reminded me of my old days at Warped Tour. I wonder if any of you in the audience ever went to those. Those were some good times. Upheaval Festival was a good replacement for that, I will say.
And I got to say, too, although I don't know who the hell you saw, what I do know is you know your music. And you kicked my ass last Friday on trivia.
Barbecue chicken, Jeff. That's what you were.
You know what's funny? You kicked my ass, and the artists we were asked about, you didn't see any of those guys this weekend. You didn't see Cardi B or Nicki Minaj, but you knew about them. So I'm glad you had fun, though. I'm happy to be back because, listen, over the weekend, a lot of stuff was happening. I could not wait to come in today to talk about it. DeAndre Hopkins being one of those guys, finally signed a contract with the Tennessee Titans. I know he was kind of talking with the Patriots, with the Titans, at least over the last couple of weeks, and he finally inks a deal with the Titans. It's a 2-year, $26 million deal with $3 million available in incentives each year. And one of those incentives being if he reaches 95 catches, 1,000 yards, and 10 touchdowns, he gets all of it. So I guess the reaction would be, number one, you're disappointed the Lions didn't get in on DeAndre Hopkins. And then number two, just your thoughts on him signing with the Tennessee Titans.
Well, I think the fact that he signed with the Tennessee Titans makes him much more likely than not that he does not reach those incentives, because he's going to be playing with either Ryan Tannehill, Malik Willis, or Will Levis as his quarterback. Obviously, Ryan Tannehill for this year probably will get the majority of the snaps, but at the same time, this is an offense that is heavily dependent on Derrick Henry and the run game. And for the most part, the Tennessee Titans with DeAndre Hopkins, there's just no juice for me. They're one of the least fun teams to watch in all of the NFL. And DeAndre Hopkins proved last year that he still has something left in the tank. Despite all of the reports that he's falling off, he did have a PED suspension, but he did have over 700 receiving yards in 9 games. So I'd have liked to have seen him with the team like the Kansas City Chiefs or the Buffalo Bills or something like that, see what they can get out of him. And I remember there was a time where DeAndre Hopkins had that list of quarterbacks and situations that he wanted to play for. A situation like the Tennessee Titans would seem to me like the last kind of situation that DeAndre Hopkins would want. But hey, maybe he just wants to prove it. He's obviously going to be the best wide receiver on that team on day one. I don't know. Maybe he's going to be in a situation where he gets the majority of the targets and the production, a la like he did on the Houston Texans or the Arizona Cardinals. I would have been way more excited if he would have went to a different situation that prioritized airing out the ball a little bit.
What about you, Gabby? At least for the Lions' perspective, you happy they didn't pursue DeAndre? A little upset? You're not surprised at all? They weren't in these conversations.
I'm not surprised. I didn't expect it. I wasn't hopeful for it. I didn't think it was going to happen. Just where they're at right now, it doesn't seem like it would be a fit, and it doesn't seem like they're willing to spend that kind of money on a player at this point.
Well, I'll say this. Where he signed, Tennessee makes sense. Maybe not for DeAndre, but for the Titans. They needed a number one wide receiver. They needed someone to take pressure off of Treylon Burks. They need someone also to take pressure off Ryan Tannehill or whoever they have at quarterback. Could be Will Levis this season, and also Derrick Henry. So if this tells me anything, it tells me the Tennessee Titans, admittedly, are basically saying we miss A.J. Brown. They let go of A.J. Brown. They didn't give him the contract extension we all agree he deserved, and they traded him to the Philadelphia Eagles where he got his contract extension. This tells me, hey, we thought Treylon Burks was going to be that guy year one. He's not yet. Let's go get DeAndre Hopkins. And there is a lot of ties to where DeAndre was looking. For example, the Patriots, Bill O'Brien was the OC, and we, as we know, he was the head coach who actually traded DeAndre Hopkins for a second-round pick because he was also the GM. But even Tennessee, their offensive coordinator, who is currently this year, Tim Kelly, who also just the offensive staff DeAndre Hopkins is familiar with. Some of that offensive staff was from Houston when he played. So there's two ties there to the Tennessee Titans and the New England Patriots. To me, though, does this move the needle for the Tennessee Titans? Yeah, maybe. I mean, I still don't think they're even the best team in their division, but this obviously does push them closer. Are they better than the Colts year one now with DeAndre? Probably. Houston, obviously. But you got teams like Jacksonville, and not even just Jacksonville, but the bigger picture, which is the AFC. I don't see what this does for the Titans moving forward, though. This is obviously, at least from DeAndre's point of view, hey, I got my money. I get my stats as well. He's going to get 1,000 yards somehow, some way. He did it last year and produced with Colt McCoy and Trace McSorley, so he will produce. But if anything, and if you have the graphic, Alex, that I sent just with his requirements for what he asked for, and this is the most frustrating part of this whole thing. Ready? Back in May, DeAndre Hopkins explained what he desired on his next team. Okay, here's the first thing. Quarterback that loves the game and brings everyone on board with him. Okay, that's Ryan Tannehill to him. Great defense. Defense wins championships. Got to have a great D-line. They did re-sign Jeffrey Simmons, but when you think of D-lines, typically you don't go right to the Tennessee Titans. Stable management, because he says he's been through 4 GMs in his career. Well, welcome to Tennessee, buddy. We just fired our GM last season. After receiving multiple offers, he signs with the Titans. Okay, and this is what frustrates me about not just DeAndre Hopkins, but players in general. Stop saying the money doesn't matter and you want to win. That is BS. Money does matter. Money's everything, and situation matters as well. When players come out and say, listen, I want to win. I want to play with a quarterback that loves the game. I want a good defense, a great defense, actually. I want stable management. Doesn't that sound like Kansas City?
Yes, absolutely.
But Kansas City isn't as intriguing because what? He can't get the money he would have got from Tennessee. See, money comes first. Getting paid comes first. And although I don't disagree with that, stop lying. If you want the money, just say, hey, I want to get paid. I want to go somewhere where I can produce, which, again, in Kansas City, he would have been able to produce, but he wouldn't have gotten as much money, Sam. So no. I'm sick of the cap. That's what I'm saying.
You're sick of the cap. Yes.
Stop capping DeAndre Hopkins.
Stop capping, because as it showed there, maybe you could say dominant defensive line. I wouldn't necessarily say that. Jeffrey Simmons and Harold Landry coming back, I think they could have an okay defensive line. But Ryan Tannehill, that's not exactly the quarterback that you want playing for you.
He didn't list him in the quarterbacks he'd want to play for.
Absolutely not. And what if, and Ryan Tannehill, this has happened to him before, what if he goes down? Do you think DeAndre Hopkins will be happy catching passes from either Malik Willis or Will Levis? Malik Willis, even though last year he didn't have much of a chance, he didn't show anything to me that proved that he is going to be a capable NFL quarterback. And you already know how I feel about Will Levis. I thought he wasn't very good in college. The fact that he fell to the second round, I kind of chuckled to myself a little bit because I never thought he was a first-round quarterback to begin with. So I just think there's a very, very high probability that sometime this year DeAndre Hopkins, like he has done before, becomes unhappy. I mean, he might not notice that much of a difference between last year when he was catching passes from Colt McCoy and Trace McSorley. If Ryan Tannehill goes down, that's basically going to be the case. At least that is how I see it. But at the same time, the Tennessee Titans, they do need him. As much as I wanted him to go to Kansas City, that was obviously my first choice, or even somebody like Buffalo or the likes, you can argue that those teams don't need him. They are going to win with or without him, and they had to take everything into account, like how much money he would ask for. So at the same time, I think DeAndre Hopkins will obviously, he'll put up some numbers, but man, if he's catching passes from Malik Willis or Will Levis, good luck, buddy. Like, congratulations. That is not even an upgrade over your situation last year.
And I want to get to some of these comments, too. People are chiming in. Chuck Brewer says, we should have drafted Willis number 2 last year, right? Yeah. There's still people out there that have faith in Malik Willis. Isn't that funny? DNC says Titans are sneaky. They always play AFC contenders down to the wire. Yeah, they're well coached. I'm not arguing that. Mike Vrabel's a hell of a coach. But again, if you're DeAndre Hopkins and you're a free agent, meaning you get to choose where you want to go, and winning matters and playing for the best possible quarterback matters, then it's not Tennessee, which is fine. Go to Tennessee. But stop capping. That's the biggest thing I'm taking away from this. Just be honest. You're chasing the bag, which I 100% understand. Why you always lying is a good question. Let's see here. DNC also says Titans have a good defense and their front office is stable. They only fired their GM because he traded A.J. Brown. Besides that, they're solid, and Vrabel makes up for the deficiencies. Again, yeah, the Tennessee isn't a dysfunctional organization, but again, if you have the option, and it was reported that Kansas City was going to free up cap space. I don't know the details of that once they signed Chris Jones to an extension, try to rework some money, then he could have signed there. But it wouldn't have been for as much as he signed for in Tennessee. So again, the bag matters. I understand. Trust me, I'm all for players getting paid. But don't go on a podcast and make this big ordeal about these are my requirements for my next team and say, you know what, I'm going to Tennessee.
That's
I'm going to go to Tennessee. I'm just kidding, guys, by the way. I'm going to Tennessee. Although Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, all these quarterbacks are on my preferred list, and I wanted a really great defense, you didn't get one in Tennessee. They're okay, but no. It's not the same situation, Sam, as Kansas City.
No,
it just isn't.
there's a pretty big drop-off, I would say, from his preferred quarterbacks and Ryan Tannehill, whose breakout season just happened to coincide with the year where Derrick Henry ran for 2,000 yards. And look at what Ryan Tannehill did in the playoffs that year, losing at home to Baltimore while leading the offense to 13 points. Jeff Iafrate, is it easier or harder to play quarterback when your running back rushes for 2,000 yards?
It is easier.
It is much, much easier. So Ryan Tannehill, I have always thought that he is maybe even a tier below Jared Goff. So congratulations, DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, he's played with some poor quarterbacks throughout his career. I would say DeAndre Hopkins should be in the Hall of Fame right away for his 2017 season where he made first-team All-Pro despite Tom Savage starting the majority of games. So he'll
be fine.
Yes, he's played with some bum quarterbacks. Who the fuck is that guy? I mean, a lot of people probably don't even know. Is it Tom Savage? Is it Phil Savage? Whoever it is. I don't even know. I think maybe his mom would know who he is. But anywho, so but this year at the same time, I don't think DeAndre Hopkins even now, even though he has shown a lot and showed a lot last year, is the same DeAndre Hopkins he was in 2017. So it wouldn't shock me at all if DeAndre Hopkins, I wouldn't say falls off a cliff. I think he'll put up some numbers, but is it really going to do anything for him?
Will he get 1,000? I think he can get 1,000. But what does that matter, though? What do the Tennessee Titans do? If they don't win the division, which I don't think they will, I think that's Jacksonville's division to lose, they're going to sneak in maybe as a wild card. I think Tennessee's good from 7 to 8 wins this season. 9 wins, let's say they sneak into the wild card spot. You're still playing a division winner some way in the AFC. You're going to lose. So, again, good for DeAndre. He gets his money. He goes to a destination where he sees familiar faces in the coaching staff. He gets to play for Ryan Tannehill, who honestly isn't terrible, but he isn't like the other guys he could have chose from in free agency. So, again, if this teaches us anything, players be capping. Money matters more, and I understand that. You got to set your family up. But it's only a 2-year deal, so who knows? After 2 years, maybe he can go chase that ring, but in his prime still, with something left to give, he chooses Tennessee. So we'll see how that works out. We'll see if Derrick Henry can stay healthy.
Right.
Because that's the biggest question mark with Tennessee, no doubt about it. We'll go to break. When we get back, I want to bring up this top 10 offensive tackles list ESPN put out, and they ranked guards and centers. And we're going to have a conversation about this offensive line and where Panay ranks and maybe where Panay can get to in the years to come. But before we do that, Gabby, can you tell us about our friends over at Randy Wise?
Yeah, Randy Wise is where you can go and make the wise choice for your vehicle. And right now you can go to woodwardsports.com and check out the first episode of the Randy Wise Celebrity Golf Tour. That is with Jim Harbaugh. Check that out today. Make yourself go down to Randy Wise and get yourself into a right vehicle for you.
Love Woodward Sports? Love wearing clothes? Then you should be wearing Woodward Sports clothes. Check out our full line of merch at woodwardsports.com. Just click on shop. We have all your favorite designs, like Dan Campbell kneecaps, Woodward golf, and of course, our own logoed out merchandise. Men, women, infants, kids all love Woodward Sports. Impress your friends. Impress your boss. Impress your dog.
Buy Woodward Sports merch today.
Big Boy Strawberry Fest has officially arrived, and we're here to show you the very best flavors of the season. Satisfy your sweet tooth with our deep-fried vanilla Oreos, strawberry hot fudge cake, and a slice of our classic strawberry pie. But that's not all. Cool off on a refreshing summer splash salad, or savor the flavors of our chicken Caesar wrap and strawberry bacon chicken wrap. And for breakfast lovers, don't miss out on our strawberry hotcakes or our mouth-watering red velvet waffle. Strawberry Fest is something for everyone. Celebrate the sweet season with us at Big Boy.
Woodward Avenue, the first paved road in America.
Woodward Sports,
The first sports network born in Detroit
and made for Detroit.
Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show here at WoodwardSports.com. Thanks so much for tuning in. Gabrielle D. Phillips, Jeff Iafrate, Sam Flannel, JB, and Alex here with you today to start your Monday morning off right. And don't forget to follow us on all social media at Woodward Sports. Download this episode and leave a 5-star review if you're listening via podcast. And if you're watching on YouTube, like and subscribe.
ESPN came out with their list of top 10 offensive tackles, again, ranked by players, coaches, scouts, and executives, which I think matters more than, again, Joe Schmo in the middle of Nebraska.
Yeah.
Putting out rankings. This matters more. It's players, coaches, scouts, and executives. And they also came out with a top 10 list for interior offensive linemen, meaning centers and guards. Now, you might happen to think, well, where does Penei Sewell and Frank Ragnow rank in each of those lists? Well, I'll tell you. We'll start with Frank Ragnow. He comes in on this list. He comes in at number 10. But that's, again, for centers and guards. If we take away the guards, he's top 3. He's a top 3 center in the NFL, which, again, is fair. That's where I think he is. 2 or 3 doesn't matter. He's one of the better centers in the NFL. Now, Penei Sewell came in at 6 on ESPN's. And if you have the graphic, Alex, you could throw it up for us. This is the top 10 list, at least for tackles. There you have it. Number 1, Trent Williams. No one's disputing that. Nope. Laramie Tunsil, Tristan Wirfs. Those guys are elite. Lane Johnson as well. Jordan Mailata, who actually has been rising up over the last couple of years as an up-and-coming right tackle for the Eagles, or left tackle, excuse me. Penei Sewell at 6, 7, Andrew Thomas, 8, Rashawn Slater, 9, Christian Darrisaw, and 10, Colton Miller. Now, the question I have to this list is, how close is Penei to that top 3, top 4 in the years to come? And I would make the argument right now, the fact that he's 6, and you have Lane Johnson, who I would say has about a year left in the NFL. He's coming towards the end of his career. And Tristan Wirfs, Laramie Tunsil, Trent Williams, those 3 are typically the, pretty typical. If you rank top 3 tackles in the NFL, you have a list mentioning those 3 guys. Now, Jordan Mailata, great player for the Eagles, but I think Penei Sewell by next season, and maybe even the next season, will be in this top 3, top 4 ranking for Penei. Because, again, for Penei, and you can check out this article that was posted on WoodwardSports.com, written by Matt Broder, discussing this list, and Penei being the 6th ranked offensive tackle. And Broder dives into a lot of things that separates Penei from the rest of the tackles, which, again, you saw in his rookie year. And I know Neil made a big deal about this, but there is some truth to this. As a rookie, to get into it with Aaron Donald and not to back down, grab his helmet, and want to go to war with him immediately, it shows the grit, the toughness that Sewell presents. And now over this offseason and last season, becoming more of a leader. And not to mention, Sam, and I do bring this up every time, he does lead at least the right tackles all in receiving yards, which is pretty significant. But besides that, I think Penei Sewell can be a top 3 tackle by next season. I think you give him one more season. He had his rookie year where, again, he played left, he played right. This last season, played right, was pretty damn good at playing right. Give him one more season, I think he'll be a top 3 tackle in the NFL. I do think that.
That is
especially with Lane Johnson's departure.
I mean, that is definitely a big ask. I will say this. I did a little bit of a deep dive on all of these tackles, and I did my own rankings of who the best are in the NFL, or at least going into next year. I would actually put Penei Sewell currently, as we speak right now, at number 7. I would slot him above Jordan Mailata. I would put him above Colton Miller, and I would put him above Rashawn Slater, because Rashawn Slater did not get the chance to validate his second-team All-Pro rookie season with his second year because he missed the majority of it with injury. But I would put Christian Darrisaw and Andrew Thomas over him right now, at least for now. But I will say this about Penei Sewell. I think if he takes that next leap, if he can improve his run blocking, if he can improve his pass blocking as well and all of that, and maybe cut down on the penalties, I think his ceiling going into next year would be number 3. It wouldn't shock me at all if he has a better year than Laramie Tunzel. It wouldn't shock me at all if he has a better season than Tristan Wirfs. He's actually a better run blocker by the numbers than both of them. He's just a significantly worse pass blocker as of now. But right now, number 7 is about right. But the ceiling with Penei Sewell, that's very, very important that he hits it to the success of this offense. Because when you look at what he did very, very well last year, you look at run blocking, in which he was the 3rd highest, according to PFF, graded of the people on this top 10. And even with sacks allowed, he only allowed 2, which is absolutely elite, tied for 3rd amongst all of the players ranked on this top 10 list. But also, his pass blocking is graded out the worst out of these 10. His penalties is 2nd worst, and his hits allowed is tied for worst. So he has some improvements to make, but we all know the talent that he has. And with Penei Sewell, it's not just about what he has done, it's about what we think he can do. And I would argue that he has not even reached maybe a 1/3 of what his potential is. I definitely foresee multiple All-Pros for him in the future.
Yeah, and again, what separates him, and like you kind of already alluded to, is what he does in the run game.
Sure.
And shout out to Alex, by the way, our stat guy for the morning show in Woodward Sports. He pulled up something, stats for me about a couple weeks ago, and I'm just referencing them now for this discussion. And the biggest stat to me that separates Penei, and you're right about the pass blocking, that's something that, again, he's going to get better at. But the run, what he does in the run game, again, yards per rush in their respective gaps. Penei Sewell is almost at 5 yards per rush. Everybody else, Darrisaw is at 3.6, Andrew Thomas at 4.4, Wirfs at 3.7, and then you bring up Trent Williams, which is 5.1, Lane Johnson 5.5. So again, those are the top 2 tackles in my opinion. Penei is right behind those guys in yards per rush. So in the run game, he's already a top 3, top 4 tackle, but the pass game is where he's going to have to get better, which I think he will over the next couple of years. I'm not worried about it.
Yeah, his run blocking is already elite.
Like, that's absurd. 5 yards per rush.
Yes.
Like, compared, again, you're in the echelon of Lane and Trent Williams, which are Hall of Famers.
Yes, 100% first ballot Hall of Famers. And yeah, but I would argue that pass blocking is a more important skill, and he definitely has to get better at that. I got to read this from Detroit Dabber. He says, Neil, as a Neil Rule, taught you something after all, Sam. You know, I've always thought that Penei Sewell is going to be a damn good offensive tackle. I just don't think at this moment he's the love child of Trent Williams and Jesus, like Neil Rule says. That's my only problem. I think it's a little bit absurd to declare someone a gold jacket guy right now. And the fact that it has pretty much completely permeated the Woodward Sports office, it just shows how much Detroit sports fans love their own and how much propaganda is powerful.
But here's the thing, though. I mean, he makes the list at 6 among top 10 tackles,
Sure.
not left or right. It's combined. Tackles. He's a top 6 tackle according to players, coaches, scouts, and executives, Sam. Top 6.
I know.
There is not another player on the Lions besides Frank who's ranked higher in their respective positions.
Sure, and there's
as much as I agree with you, there is some truth to it as well. Why he's so hyped.
No, that is perfectly fine. But if you want a quick teaser from me for Big D Energy from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., I guarantee you, and he didn't tell me this, I guarantee you that Neil Rule is going to see a number 6 ranking as disrespect. And for the record, in my own personal rankings, I would put him at 7, which is pretty much the exact same. I think this list, for the most part, got it right. But Penei Sewell thus far has been very, very, very good. I think he will take that next step into elite, but it all depends on if he can up that pass blocking. Because, like I said, out of all these top 10, he is graded out as the worst according to PFF and is tied for the worst amongst hits allowed. He's got to get better at that.
Love this comment.
Oh,
Hoof Hard, it says, there's 64 tackles that start in the NFL every week, so top 6 out of 64 is the 10%. True that. Justin O says, Sam, be like, Bijan is a Hall of Famer, but before ever playing, but Sewell isn't.
Okay.
Your response to that, Sam Flannel?
I mean, okay, maybe me saying that Bijan Robinson is already a Hall of Famer is maybe is maybe a little bit presumptuous. But here's the thing. Here's the difference between my Bijan take and all of your guys' Penei Sewell takes. Penei Sewell being a gold jacket guy is literally universally accepted amongst these offices, amongst a lot of you people, as a bona fide fact. When in reality, he just went into his second year and is the 6th ranked tackle and has made 1 Pro Bowl. It's that's the difference. You guys are just like, oh yeah, true, gold jacket guy, no doubt about it. What if I even said that about Andrew Thomas or Christian Darrisaw? You guys would be like, oh my God, that is absolutely ridiculous. What if I said that about Tristan Wirfs, who has accomplished significantly more than Penei Sewell at this point? You guys would be like, oh my God, that's ridiculous. But Penei Sewell, the love child of Trent Williams and Jesus, can absolutely do no wrong.
Well, here's context to that too. Eric Allen says, I wonder if Wirfs, Slater, Darrisaw, etc. can move from the left side to the right side after missing a full season in college before coming to the NFL and produce and dominate like he's been doing. Yeah.
Okay, fine. Okay.
That's also impressive too. You can't. He missed a year of college his last season because of COVID. Comes in, plays left tackle, switches to right tackle, and now he's in his second season playing right tackle, and he's already, again, Sam, a top 6 tackle.
Yes.
Not left or right, tackle.
Yes.
With only a year and a half under his belt playing right.
Penei Sewell is excellent, and as I said before, he would rank number 7 on my list, which means that I, for the most part, agree that this list got it right. And I do think he could make that leap into an All-Pro this year. It wouldn't shock me, and certainly in the future, especially when Lane Johnson and Trent Williams retire. But at the same time, Lane Johnson and Trent Williams, say what you want about them being old, and both of them have had some injury issues, especially Lane Johnson. They're still playing at All-Pro level right now, so they might both have a couple of years left. Penei Sewell will get there, I believe, but there are no guarantees, and I would just say that he hasn't done enough to be top 3 or anything yet. But I don't know if any of you, if you guys are saying that, but I guarantee you Neil Rule will on Big D Energy. You guys should tune in.
I think it speaks volumes to what Penei's doing, because you look at, again, Lane and Trent Williams. Trent Williams has always been a left tackle. Lane Johnson, for the majority of his career, right tackle. Now, actually, Lane came in, and what was he, a quarterback or a tight end, I believe, and he changed to a tackle, and he's been one of the most elite tackles in the NFL on a year-to-year basis. But it really speaks to Sewell's athleticism, his toughness, the fact that, again, he could change from left tackle, which he's comfortable playing, get to the NFL, change the right tackle, and he's a top 6 tackle in the NFL in a year and a half after removed from playing right tackle for the first time or the second time in his football career. So that matters, and I think there's definitely something to take away there. So we'll go to break. When we get back, I want to bring up this Aiden Hutchinson, this top 10 for edge rushers listing they had on ESPN, and I want to know how far Aiden Hutchinson's away from making the top 10 in edge rushers, because again, he didn't make the list, but he was just outside the list. And I'll read you who made the list over him. But before we do that, I got to tell you about our friends over at SMA, because the sports marketing agency helps spread awareness about mental health and substance abuse. Their new podcast, This is the S Word, helps fight the stigma about seeking help. If you or someone you know is struggling, head to thesportsma.com for more information.
Introducing the Planet Fitness Guide to getting that post-workout glow. Step 1. What's your why? More epic energy? Better sleep? Blow off steam? Step 2. Join Planet Fitness for just $10 a month and get moving in our clean and spacious clubs. Step 3. Bask in that post-workout glow. Join Planet Fitness today for just $10 a month.
Join today at any of the 50-plus Detroit area locations.
We don't like to brag that we are the toughest sports network in Detroit.
But we do have a guy named Darren McCarty on our side.
Woodward Sports. We are the network for Detroit.
By Detroiters.
Welcome to the Woodward Sports Network.
Play, practice, and party at 5 Iron Golf, as it is now open inside of the Cambria Hotel. Downtown's newest sports bar has 13 TrackMan simulators, certified instructors, and a full bar and restaurant. Mention promo code Woodward at checkout for 50% off of your first visit, and visit 5irongolf.com to tee up good times. That is 5irongolf.com.
We're back in the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. We just got done talking about Penei Sewell and where he ranks in the NFL. According to executive scouts, players and so on and so forth. And again, we're going to move on to Aiden Hutchinson and where he ranks. Now, this list also came on ESPN.com, and it's the top 10. Again, executives, coaches, scouts rank NFL's top 10 edge rushers for 2023, means projection and what they can do this upcoming season. And at number one, it's to no one's surprise, is Nick Bosa. I think we can all agree that he is the best edge rusher. Him and Myles Garrett, it's debatable. Myles Garrett is number 2, so there you have it. Micah Parsons at 3, TJ Watt at 4, 5 is Hassan Reddick. So again, pretty elite guys. Max Crosby at 6, 7 Brian Burns, 8 Matthew Judon, 9 Von Miller, and 10 Joey Bosa. Now, honorable mentions, and like last segment, honorable mentions, and I want to bring this up too. Shout out to Eric Allen, because I forgot to mention this. Taylor Decker was an honorable mention for the top 10 tackles. So again, for this list, the edge rushers, Aiden Hutchinson, after his rookie season, is an honorable mention. And if you have the graphic, Alex, I sent just a screenshot of what they said about Aiden. There you have it. Hutchinson led all rookies with 9.5 sacks and had 3 interceptions with 52 tackles. Quote, he's more than a try-hard guy, an NFC executive said. He makes plays where he's baiting the quarterback into an interception by the sideline. He's an athlete. Now, the question I have for the people and for you, Sam Flannel, I'll let you run with this. How far is Aiden away from being a top 10 edge rusher in the NFL?
He is right on the cusp of it. I'm not mad at him not being included in the top 10 right now, because if you look at the list, I mean, you got guys like Von Miller and Matthew Judon near the bottom, guys like Hassan Reddick, Joey Bosa even at number 10. That just shows how deep the edge rusher position is in the NFL right now. Do I think that Aiden Hutchinson could be on this list next year? 100,000%. I love how this write-up says kind of something that I was saying, because coming into the season, I think there was some concern that Aiden Hutchinson didn't have that ceiling that Kayvon Thibodeau did, that ceiling that even Trayvon Walker did, that he was kind of just a try-hard guy, a guy who had talent and had a high floor, but was a try-hard guy. But you saw when he played on that field that he's got the speed, he's got the power, he's got the discipline, something that I would say he lacked a little bit early on in his career in the first 6 or 7 games. But once he got that under wraps, it was pretty much over for him, not for him, like his over pursuing and all of that. And one of the things I like about Aiden Hutchinson is that in 9 of the Detroit Lions wins last year, they had 9 wins. Aiden Hutchinson had 8 sacks in those games. In their 8 losses, he only had 1.5. And I think that shows a lot to do with Aiden Hutchinson. This defense will go, this team goes as Aiden Hutchinson will go. And I think we all expect this year that the Lions are going to do a lot of winning. They're going to win at least double-digit games. Their defense is going to be much better. And I think Aiden Hutchinson will take that leap as well. I think he will go from day one and just know that he is the dominant, best defensive player on that team, their dominant edge rusher. All of his rookie growing pains will be a thing of the past. I think he will have more help for the whole season than he did last year. A full season of James Houston, an improvement out of Aleem McNeil. You got Kaminsky, you got Buggs. Hopefully Charles Harris stays healthy the whole year. Hopefully Romeo Okwara stays healthy the whole year. So I don't think Aiden Hutchinson will have to experience as many double teams. And that revamped secondary will mean that they can cover receivers longer, and that will of course help Aiden Hutchinson, because the quarterbacks aren't always going to be able to take three-step dropbacks and just hit an open receiver, because you got Cam Sutton, CJ Gardner-Johnson, Emmanuel Mosley back there. So I think Aiden Hutchinson will absolutely get double-digit sacks. I think he will get 13.5. I think he will have over 20 quarterback hits, and he will definitely, at the very least, make a Pro Bowl and be fighting for that All-Pro spot. And I think by this time next year, you cannot leave Aiden Hutchinson off of this top 10 edge rusher list. I think he will probably be top 7, honestly. The sky is the limit for Aiden Hutchinson.
And you know what's crazy, too, about this list is, even Myles Garrett, who is atop of the list, he's number 2. He had 26 quarterback hits last season. And typically that's up for him. Usually at least the year prior he was at 33, but before that he was at 18 and then 18. So again, 26 quarterback hits for Myles Garrett. Aiden Hutchinson in his rookie season had 15 quarterback hits, 9.5 sacks, and the 3 interceptions, which are just unreal for an edge rusher in his rookie season. Now, the question, I guess, how far is he away from making this list? I don't really give a damn, to be honest with you, because Joey Bosa, Von Miller, Brian Burns, these guys, if Joey Bosa's healthy, he's good for 13 to 15 sacks a season. Now, for Aiden to be in this list, he has to have the number, hit the number that you mentioned, which is 13, 14, 15 sacks to at least be in this conversation, because we know Von Miller and what he can do when he's healthy. Matthew Judon had a career year last year. He's 8. Brian Burns is only getting better. He's 7. Like, this list is, I mean, even Max Crosby, 25 years old, he's still getting better. And he's a hell of an edge rusher already for the Las Vegas Raiders. Hassan Reddick, who, again, last season had a career year.
Yeah.
Like, it's a tough list. TJ Watt at 4. Like, TJ Watt's in his own realm of edge rushers as it is. So, for Aiden Hutchinson, and you look at the other honorable mentions they have, Trey Hendrickson, who people forget had the highest pressure rate last season. Like, Trey Hendrickson is a dude. Yes. He had a 16.8% pressure rate, and he led the NFL for the second straight season, Sam Flannel. So, as much as I am hopeful and as much as I'm optimistic for Aiden Hutchinson, I think this season he'll be at least more respected. I think he'll get double-digit sacks. I think he'll be a part of a defense that's top 15 in the league, a team that wins 10, 11 games. There will be more notoriety for Aiden Hutchinson. But to be a top 10 edge rusher, Sam, it's a lot easier said than done, because you got guys right behind him. Even Jalen Phillips last season, 2 seasons, 15.5 sacks. I think Jalen Phillips is going to get better. My point is, a lot of up-and-coming talent among edge rushers in the NFL. For Aiden to make this list, he's going to have to keep getting better, get damn near almost 30 quarterback hits, double-digit sacks. The interceptions I'm not as concerned about, even though that's a plus. Yeah. I mean, these guys in the top 10 don't have interceptions to make the list. It's about getting to the quarterback. And I still think Aiden this season, even if he does improve, he might not still make this top 10 list, but doesn't mean you're not optimistic about his future in the NFL.
100%.
There's just so much competition.
There's so much competition, and in order for him to make top 10, I am personally going to wait for him to validate that rookie season in which he led all rookies in sacks and completely validated his number 2 overall pick status. I got to read this comment from J. Will Fan because I think it's kind of funny, but let me explain. He's not mad at Hutch, he being me, not being in the top 10 as much as Flannel hugs Hutch's nuts. Seems fake to me. Well, first of all, I am a proud Aiden Hutchinson nut hugger. I have referred to a lot of people figuratively. I have thrown that insult around at certain people around here, so I will wear that crown when it is appropriate for me. But Aiden Hutchinson, listen to that list. Joey Bosa is 10. Von Miller is 9. Matthew Judon is 8. Like, listen to those names that you have to pass. I, unlike a lot of people when it comes to certain Detroit Lions, I am objective. I love Aiden Hutchinson. I was the biggest fan of him coming out. I cheered, I hooted, and I hollered when Aiden Hutchinson was drafted. And last season, when he validated all of the hype that I had for him, nobody was happier than me. It's no guarantees in the world that Aiden Hutchinson, like, he could get hurt, knock on wood, knock on wood, knock on wood. He could see his numbers decrease. Who knows? I think he will validate it, but I am going to wait for him to do that. I'll tell you what, if he puts up the numbers that I predict for him, and that defense is maybe top 20, top 15 at the absolute worst, Aiden Hutchinson will be on this list. No doubt about it. Just do it first. Show me again, Aiden Hutchinson. I believe in you. You got to show me again.
Well, even like Trey Hendrickson, who was an honorable mention with Aiden Hutchinson. Last year, 15 games, he had 24 quarterback hits, 8 sacks. But the point is, like, even Hendrickson, for as many quarterback hits as he had, I mean, he could have had a split second separated him from getting a sack from a quarterback hit. He had 8 sacks, and he's probably a second on a couple instances from double-digit sacks last season. So as much as I love Aiden, I'm excited for Aiden. I think he'll be, again, a consistent double-digit sack guy every year. And the interceptions, the athleticism of Aiden, which I think was slept on coming out of college, is what goes over people's heads because, again, your rookie season, the 9.5 sacks, you'll take that. That's enough in most years to win Rookie of the Year. But then you add in the 3 interceptions. Like, the dude was essentially at times playing outside linebacker. Like, what Aiden has done in pass coverage with his hands, again, with not a lot of talent on the defensive line or really on the defense in general, that's the most impressive part. So, although I still think Aiden's going to be your best defensive player for years to come, I think lists like this just don't matter. I don't think Aiden even cares about being – I think it matters – you know, when you sit back in the offseason, you think, man, I'm a top 10 edge rusher. But then once the season starts, you don't give a damn. I mean, you're just there to play. But, JB, what do you think? This season, Aiden, will he be a top 10 edge rusher? Or do you think it's a little too early to anoint him?
No, I think he will be. I think eventually after this season, you could probably slot him in there, probably 9 or 10. I think Von Miller probably will end up getting kicked out of that list, but it all depends on what you see from him this season. If he can improve on what he did from the previous year. I know back then you could probably see him doing 1 or 2 moves, which is fine, but eventually once he got comfortable in that second half of the season, he started standing up. You could see the confidence grown in him. So as long as he can improve this season and, try to avoid these double teams that teams will try to get after him with, I think he'll be right up there as well. He's probably not going to have the same amount of interceptions, but I think I'm fine with that if he can improve on sacks versus interceptions. So I think he could be right there at 9 or 10.
Breakout season.
I have
Gabby?
a question for you guys. So for the narrative with Hutchinson and Penny, I think you see a lot more positivity than you do for Goff in the national media, and we've talked about the connotation that comes along with playing on the Lions. Why do you think it plays more into the narrative around Goff in the national media versus Penny and Hutchinson that you're seeing on these 2 lists?
You can take that one, Sam.
All right, so with Goff, you saw him at the tail end of Los Angeles and even at the very beginning with Detroit when Anthony Lynn was his offensive coordinator. He was pretty mid, and I would argue in Detroit when Anthony Lynn was his offensive coordinator, he was a bad NFL quarterback. You've seen stretches where Jared Goff is the guy that can't get it done. And I think what hurt him too was when they made that trade for Matthew Stafford. Sean McVay and all of them were proven right because Matthew Stafford helped lead the Rams to a Super Bowl win, something that Jared Goff could not do. And Matthew Stafford did it without Todd Gurley. He was already retired by them, albeit he still had a very, very good roster with guys like Cooper Kupp, Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, Lucas. I know, I see you shaking your head. I understand that. With Aiden Hutchinson and Penei Sewell, they're still so young. You haven't seen anything from them, but I would say being very, very promising rookies to at times them being excellent. With Jared Goff, there's a track record of him being, I would say, half the time pretty mid, some of the time very, very great. But to be fair to Jared Goff, I would argue he had the best season of his life last year. I think if he validates it with another great year, maybe the tide will turn even with Jared Goff.
What do you think, Lucas? Top 10 this upcoming season for Aiden?
Hutch? We talking Hutch?
Oh, we're talking Hutch.
Oh, absolutely. You look at even the last 2 out of the last 4 number 2 overall picks. You have Nick Bosa and literally his head of my mind blanking. Either way,
the top 2 guys?
Yeah,
Myles Garrett was 2.
Myles Garrett, and then there's another one though. I'm mind blanking like crazy.
Micah Parsons?
No.
Wait,
it was Nick Bosa.
TJ Watt?
Chase Young.
Okay.
Yeah.
Both of those guys in their second year, all 3 of them, they all had very solid rookie seasons. And they're like, you can tell this guy's going to be solid because they all kind of hit that 8, 9.5 sack margin. And I think this year is when we see Aiden Hutchinson take that Nick Bosa, Chase Young, etc. second year, and he's going to get around 13, 14 sacks. And I just think it goes back to looking back at previous years and previous defensive ends and where they're selected and why they're selected, and it all translates down to that. I think it's just going to repeat itself with Aiden Hutchinson.
I was going to say, if you want to set the tone, go out against Kansas City on the road, get a couple sacks, get 2 sacks, disrupt multiple plays. Because, again, and someone said this too in the chat, and I forgot who it was. My apologies for that, but regardless, Big Show picks. He's going to Max Crosby, Patty Mahomes, 3 sacks opening night. If you want to get recognition, Aiden Hutchinson, who again isn't the most marketable guy, he's who Dan loves, the type of player he loves. If you want to get in these conversations, go out against Kansas City, disrupt the game. Now, there's certain players. Again, that Kansas City offensive line is pretty elite, but this is a game for Aiden to go out on a national stage. It's opening night. And go out and show out. Because, again, last season, he was in the echelon of Myles Garrett in terms of double teams. But I think it's going to be harder to double team Aiden the more they add talent on that defensive line. And it's only going to help him. So, will he be top 10? I don't know. But I don't think the Lions care. As long as he's contributing to winning and they win 11 games, he'll still be in that conversation. But to help his case, Sam, go out against Kansas City and go disrupt that entire game.
Go out against
cause havoc.
Cause havoc in that game. Go out against Kansas City, a team that lost their left tackle in the offseason, Orlando Brown Jr., and replace him with Juwan Taylor. Make Juwan Taylor's life hell week 1. Make him wish that he never came to Kansas City. And that's possible. I think that Aiden Hutchinson and Juwan Taylor on their just on face value, Aiden Hutchinson is a better player than Jawan Taylor, but he has to dominate that matchup. And I think in order for him to really, really kind of have that I'm him moment, I think he had a few last year, but even more so this year, at least sack Patrick Mahomes one time. I think it can happen, especially if it's like in a crucial 3rd and 5 and Aiden Hutchinson, even if he doesn't sack him, just forces Patrick Mahomes to throw the ball away or get rid of the football or even, dare I say, throw an interception. Aiden Hutchinson is on the biggest stage I would argue he's ever been on at Kansas City, week 1. Go out and dominate it. I think that he is capable, and I honestly think he will. I don't think they'll win the game, but I think Aiden Hutchinson will have an impact.
And I'll tell you what, we'll talk about another Lions player next segment, and it's who's under the most pressure. Out of all the Lions players, who's under the most pressure? And we'll get into that in a Lions Wire article that came out and listed who they think is under the most pressure for the Detroit Lions. We'll get to that and more. But before we do, Sam, if I'm under a lot of pressure to get my hair cut, where can I go to?
Well, you should go to Lady Jane's. And fortunately for somebody like me, when I feel the pressure to get a haircut, I don't have to drive down anywhere. I just walk over a few feet. I could crawl over there if I wanted to and just go to any of the stylists. I just go to any of them and just say, first available, and they always hook me up because I think I've gone to 6 or 7 of them, and they always do a great job on this hair. I mean, look at me. Don't I look fantastic? And with the fresh hair and the fresh shave.
Subjective.
Well, you know what? I think objective, Lucas. I would say objective, and I'm sure every single person in that audience would agree. But if I'm going to get my haircut, of course I go Lady Jane's. And how would you like to win not 1, but 2 vehicles of your choice? One for you and one for your wife, your girlfriend, or your best bud. Get to Lady Jane's today for an award-winning haircut and automatically enter for your chance to win, courtesy of Les Stanford Buick GMC of Ferndale. Lady Jane's open 7 days a week. Walk in anytime. It's wicked awesome.
The sports marketing agency would not be who we are without great community partners like Higuera Health and Carol Zaniga.
It's an awesome opportunity to partner with your organization. Higuera Health is a comprehensive behavioral health organization. We serve children through older adults with mental health, substance use, and developmental disabilities across Western Wayne counties, and really excited to now be in downriver communities as well. Give us a call at 734-458-4601.
Love Woodward Sports? Love wearing clothes? Then you should be wearing Woodward Sports clothes. Check out our full line of merch at woodwardsports.com. Just click on shop. We have all your favorite designs, like Dan Campbell kneecaps, Woodward golf, and of course, our own logoed out merchandise. Men, women, infants, kids all love Woodward Sports. Impress your friends. Impress your boss. Impress your dog. Buy Woodward Sports merch today.
Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. Almost into the second hour. Jeff Iafrate, Sam Flannel, JB, Gabby D. Phillips, and Lucas Klotz. We just got done talking about Aiden Hutchinson. Can he be a top 10 edge rusher this upcoming season? And I want to change the conversation to which Lions players under the most pressure in 2023. And Jeff Risdon, the great Jeff Risdon, came out with an article on Lions Wire and talked about, the one player from each NFL team under the most pressure. And for the Lions, to no one's surprise, is Mr. Jameson Williams, the first-round pick last season. And he writes, and I'll read this off. He says, it's not easy for fans to embrace Williams. The number 12 overall pick in the 2022 NFL draft caught exactly 1 pass as a rookie, missing more than half the season recovering from knee surgery. This offseason, he's already suspended for the first 6 games for violating the NFL's gambling policy. Williams clearly has talent and could make a big impact as soon as he gets back on the field. However, if he doesn't, expect Williams to join the wrong side of Detroit versus everybody in the equation to both the fan base and perhaps some teammates too. Now, I'll ask the chat, who's under the most pressure in 2023? And I put a poll up and added Aiden and Jared Goff in there. And Aiden, not 3% of the votes. Jameson Williams, 42% of the votes. And leading, 56% is Jared Goff. Now, I'll ask you, Sam Flannel, I'll go last. Who's under the most pressure in this upcoming season for the Lions?
This answer should be 100%. Of course it's Jameson Williams. Here's the thing, and this is what I kind of don't understand a lot about like some of the Detroit Lions fans, or even some of these people at this room, some of these people even on this very show, maybe even somebody sitting to my right, or in the technical director booth. I'll get to you guys later. why is there's not this demand that Jameson Williams 100% has to produce? And not just that, it's this idea that he has already produced when, in my view, and I think objectively, and even this write-up says it, he had 1 catch last year and 1 carry. As I like to quote or paraphrase, remember the Titans, you guys act like he's done something. Man, he ain't done nothing, man. And that's the thing.
I hate you, bro.
I'll give you your time, Lucas Kotz, so that you can
making
respond.
me laugh, Flannel.
Oh, I'm sure, but that's the thing. Jameson Williams. Here's something that I believe to be true. I can't say it's an objective fact. Last year, I get it. Jameson Williams was hurt. We all accounted for that. And then coming into this year, he has a 6-game gambling suspension. The rules were a little bit murky, but regardless, he's going to miss 6 games. I would argue, and I'm not saying that this guy is a star or anything, if the Lions would have took Jordan Davis, they might have been in the playoffs last year. I'm not saying Jordan Davis was anything special, but he might have been just another rotational piece in the interior of the defensive line that might have, I don't know, made Seattle punt once or held the Carolina Panthers to under 300 yards rushing. Maybe he would have helped with that. They also could have taken Kyle Hamilton. They passed on him. I know they got Kirby Joseph later, but Kyle Hamilton, I know you guys all think he's a bum now because you didn't want him at 2, but Kyle Hamilton, believe it or not, and I know a lot of you guys don't know this, was the #1 highest rated safety according to PFF. And you can take PFF with a grain of salt, but I'm not just gonna poo-poo that for sure. Or you could have even taken a wide receiver that could have contributed right away in Jahan Dotson, who missed a lot of the season with injury, and I don't think has the talent of Jameson Williams, but I think he would have contributed to this offense right away. There's no demand for Jameson Williams to produce, but in my opinion, in order to validate that number 12 overall pick, especially if you lose some of the games in your first 6, if you get like outscored by Kansas City and you think to yourself, man, they could have used an explosive element. Man, I wish we had Jameson Williams. Oops, he got himself suspended again. I think he has to go. He owes it to the fans to come out and ball out because so far, y'all acting like he's done something. Man, he ain't done nothing. Man, nothing.
JV.
Nothing.
JV, what do you think? Who's under the most pressure? Jared Goff, Jameson Williams? Who is it?
I will give Flannel credit first. Yes, Jameson Williams on paper has done nothing.
Oh, thank you.
Has done nothing. I give you credit for that. But I think I'm going to lean with the chat on this one and go with Jared Goff. Just because a lot is riding on this QB position right here. Jameson, I give you credit. Year 1, a lot of us weren't expecting him to do barely anything with the injury. Coming back, you didn't know what you had. Season 2 now, it's like, hey, the gambling thing, it's on its own. You know, we have our opinions about that. But still, once he gets back out there, I think it's on him to choose his path. But Jared Goff is the main focus here. The QB position is where it starts. And honestly, the shoulders of the city of Detroit is riding on Jared Goff to be better, to do better, away and at home. If he truly wants this contract extension, you have to improve and do a lot better than what you did the previous year. No one's going to remember that. It's all about right now.
What do you think, Gabby?
I'm going with Goff for similar reasons because his contract extension is on the line. His position's on the line. His role on the team is on the line, and his future in the NFL is on the line. Whereas Williams has a little bit more time, a little bit more wiggle room, and it's really more opinionated on where he's at right now and like the things that he's done off the field. It's going to matter what Jared Goff does on the field this season, where I think the bar is already set a little lower for JMO. The bar is set pretty high for Goff, and he has to hit that or else his contract's on the line.
What do you think?
It's Sam Laporta. No, I'm kidding.
You're Hall of Famer.
It's 100% Jared Goff. I think the quarterback on any team, no matter what situation, has the most pressure on the shoulders outside of the coach because they're the most important pieces of the team. And Jared Goff, I think he's going to hang his nuts this season, but if he doesn't, his job is going to be gone, and Hendon Hooker's coming in. So not only is Jared Goff playing for money, he's playing for respect, and he's also playing for a job. So I think he 100% has the most pressure on him, both individually and for the team.
Let me just say this, and I'll put a cap on it. Whose replacement got drafted last season, or this last draft?
It'd be Jared Goff.
So if you talk about pressure, and we don't know how good Hendon Hooker is to Jared Goff's, to the point for Jared, contract extension on the line. He had a great season last year after what? Probably 2-3 seasons of struggling, where people in their right mind pretty much forgot about Jared Goff. He had a great year last year. Now people in Detroit with higher expectations, the Lions are expected to win, 10, 11 games this season. He's under pressure. Like Jared Goff, and he's going to be playing week 1. For Jameson, I understand there is pressure, but when we're rating pressure, who has more, Jared or Jameson, everything essentially rides on Jared Goff this season, a lot of it. I mean, he's your quarterback. He goes down, everything's over. He struggles, everything's over. Your division hopes are over. For Jameson, and maybe this is your expectations versus others, I expect him to produce. But for Jameson, last season, essentially, and we can disagree here and we'll move on, but I think last year was essentially a throwaway year. I didn't expect him to play at all. He played, didn't do much. When he caught the football, made plays. But besides that, I didn't expect him to play. This season, he suspended the first 6 games. So for him to come out, and I hate pulling this card, but it is essentially his rookie season to some extent. Like, this is a real time after 6 games. He'll be getting involved in the offense. He'll be playing. He'll have rapport with Jared. There won't be the excuses he had last year. For Jared, it's go time. Like, you're the quarterback of a team that's favored to win your division. You're a quarterback of a team that's one of the best teams in the NFC. I think there's more pressure on Jared because of the expectations on the Lions. If Jameson plays well or not, he didn't really play at all last year and they won 9 games. So I think there's pressure, but for the team, who needs to perform? Who's under the most pressure? It's Jared Goff.
Jared Goff is most certainly under pressure because he has to validate what he did last year. If he takes any bit of a dip, or God forbid takes a huge dip, people are going to be clamoring for Hendon Hooker. And if he takes a big enough dip, the Lions might not even make the playoffs. I think there is a very, very small chance of that happening. But what I keep hearing from people in the chat, and what I keep hearing from even you, Jeff Iafrate, and sometimes even you, Lucas Klotz, is you're not demanding that Jameson Williams be great. Jameson Williams, and I see this in the chat too, people are saying, oh, they won without him. They won 9 games without him. So dare I say, did they ever need him in the first place? I'm just saying. Go ahead, Lucas. Go ahead.
And it's not that I'm not demanding Jameson Williams to be great, but when Jameson Williams comes back, I think this offense, to your point, kind of, is going to be at a very good level. But Jameson Williams, to take this offense to an elite level, he really doesn't have to do that much statistically, and I don't think he will this year just because, again, this is really going to be like his rookie year. But Jameson Williams, the presence of him being on the field, because he is an elite playmaker with game-breaking speed, just that alone is going to shape the way the defense plays this Detroit Lions offense, and I think that alone does enough impact where he will get those catches and the touchdowns and the yards, but his presence is going to be felt way more than just through stats, in my opinion.
Well, and for JMO too, and to answer your question, last year, of course, I don't want to say they didn't need him if Jameson was there, which he was towards the end and they won some games, so he was useful. Now, he didn't make the impact we expect him to make, but no one's not demanding him to be great. If Jameson already had a year or two in the NFL under his belt struggling as a 12th overall pick, then we could say he's under a ton of pressure, but we haven't really seen J-Mo. Like, at full, 100%, at least implemented with rapport with Jared, ready to go. He kind of got thrown last year into the offense and pretty much just had to figure it out. Jared Goff is a veteran at this point. Like, we expect, and everyone just assumes, well, Jared Goff will have another good year. He's going to either get traded or re-signed, whatever it happens. Not everything's always promised. Like, Jared could easily come out this year and struggle. It could happen. Now, I don't think it will, but Jameson, whether he plays really well or plays fine, I don't think that maybe it moves the needle if he plays elite coming out the gates, but it's on Jared, Sam. That's where the most pressure is for the Lions. If Jared Goff doesn't produce, who gives a damn what J-Mo does?
Sure.
Because Jared's the one throwing him the football.
100%. And a quarterback and a wide receiver are obviously a complementary relationship, and the quarterback is the most important position on the field. I get all of that. It's just with Jameson Williams, he needs to show me something, because I'm already kind of getting the vibe that if he makes a few big plays and the Lions still win, people are just going to crown Jameson Williams like he's this star already. I need him to be a consistently great wide receiver. And here's the reality of the situation. Yes, I think the Lions will still be a good offense without Jameson Williams, but just remember, and I want to give you guys a certain hypothetical. I know it's a little bit different, and I kind of touched on this on a previous show. Aiden Hutchinson was drafted number 2 overall to kind of help save a terrible defense. And for a lot of the season, I wouldn't say he helped save the defense, but he was the best defensive player overall on the team, on a defense that was much improved over the previous year, and certainly over the last 10 games versus the first 7. If Aiden Hutchinson was drafted into the NFL and he was coming in with an injury, if Aiden Hutchinson came back for 6 games, let's just give this hypothetical, and in one game he recorded a single sack fumble that was picked up, not returned for a touchdown, but picked up, and in another game he made a critical 3rd and 1 tackle for loss on a running back, and that's pretty much all he did for the season, people would not be giving him the same leash that they're giving Jameson Williams. There is no way in hell. There would be a large contingent of people at this network, of you people, that would be like, oh, I thought Aiden Hutchinson was a Michigan man. Oh, the leaders and the best and all of that. Where's that leaders and the best? With Jameson Williams, he gets this unlimited leash at this point, and I don't understand it. It's like you can't say anything bad about him or else you're a hater. He's Teflon. I don't understand it. There needs to be a demand for his greatness, but nobody in here seems to be doing it. They're just like, oh, he can make a couple of plays. He can be a little bit explosive. He can be an explosive element, and everything's fine. No, it's not fine. It's not fine.
I don't know how you could expect greatness from somebody last year who's coming off a torn ACL. That's the whole thing, is we're all being patient still. It's because we have faith that this guy can be explosive and he can be what we all think he would be. And we've seen, even with the bad ACL that we didn't think he was going to play on last year, he's capable of doing those things. And then you have a shitty situation like this. And to me, I think Jameson Williams is going to let this build a chip on his shoulder and carry his momentum into the elite player that he can be. So that's why I'm not necessarily bashing people that are like, yeah, Jameson, he's not handling how he needs to be. I agree with you. But at the same time, if he can overcome this, it'll all go away. And that's why I'm not ready just to hop on the dude yet and act like he's a bust, when it's just like, it's too early to call him a bust and it's too early to call him a lock. So no. You can't say either. So it's like, I'm going to support the guy because I believe in his ability and especially what this is going to do for it.
No, 100%. I don't think that he's a bust, by the way. I just think with the fact that, and here's the thing, Lucas, I could excuse that first season if he didn't have to miss the first 6 in the following season with a gambling suspension, including the game at Kansas City, where I think having a guy like Jameson Williams could really, really help this offense, especially if they have to keep pace with the Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Andy Reid offense. That's all I'm saying. He's not a bust. I just think, as of right now, with what we've seen so far, he's on red alert to me.
Okay, that's fair. Go ahead, Jeff.
No, I just want to read this comment, then we'll go to break. But Jake says the guy played 78 plays, which was mostly getting his feet wet, and was only targeted 9 times. There's nothing to honestly critique with such a small data pool. And to the other point about Jared for Hendon Hooker, people say, well, he's a 3rd-round quarterback. He was a 1st-round quarterback if he didn't tear his ACL. So let's put that context into it. To me, Jared Goff's under more pressure, but what do you guys think? We'll go to break. When we come back, we're going to have Detroit Kool-Aid, a.k.a. Brandon Dent, our Woodward Sports Detroit Pistons beat reporter, to discuss Marcus Sasser, Asar Thompson in the Pistons Summer League. But before we do that, Hendon Hooker was insurance for Jared, but what's insurance for Woodward Sports?
Of course, that is Swiss insurance, without a shadow of a doubt. And now that summer's here, it is important to make sure you are properly covered, whether it's a grad party or just a group of people over to enjoy the lake or pool. Your liability exposure increases significantly in summertime. Let the Swiss Insurance Group review your coverage and make sure you are protected from an unexpected loss. Check us out at swissins.com or call Mark today at 248-800-4177. Again, that is 248-800-4177, Swiss Insurance.
Since the dawn of moving people, Chevrolet has led the way. The world of transportation is changing. At Feldman Chevrolet, we are leading the charge forward. With every electric vehicle, every mile traveled, one Feldman at a time. The company that puts more Chevys on Michigan roads is now the #1 name for Chevy electric vehicles.
You have an opinion? Make sure it's seen and heard. Corner, jumper, tweet us, hop on the YouTube chat, slide in the DMS at Woodward Sports on all social media.
Welcome back. It's the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. Jeff Iafrate, Sam Flannel, JB, Gabby D. Phillips, and Lucas Klotz. And joining us to talk some Pistons, to talk some Marcus Sasser, who was pretty damn special over the weekend. My good friend of the network, covers the Detroit Pistons for Woodward Sports. You can go check out all his articles over sports.com. Follow him on Twitter as well. Detroit Kool-Aid, Brandon Dent. How you doing this morning, my man?
Hey, I'm doing good, man. How
was your trip? You went to Vegas last week?
Yes, it was awesome. I was just telling Gabby, the reception down there was awesome. The people, they were live. They were ready for not just Detroit Pistons basketball, but, hey, they knew who Woodward Sports was. They knew why we were there. And it was cool to kind of interact with the fans and kind of see our rookies up close and personal. It was cool.
How was the Pistons fans you encountered? Because the fact that you saw quite a few Pistons fans, to be honest with you, in Vegas, I was surprised. But what was the atmosphere like for Pistons fans being there? With Asar, Marcus Sasser, what do they think?
They're bought in. They're bought in. You know, they're excited. They liked what they saw from Asar Thompson early on when he wasn't necessarily hitting a three-point shot. The fans there were still like, you know what, this guy is he's just a different type of player as it comes speed-wise and when you're talking about athleticism. Mm-hmm. And that was something that people in the building continue to remark about Pistons fans and not, was just he looks like he's just on a different level when you're talking about his athleticism.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Speaking of people who impressed, how about Asar Thompson? I know you got to see him up close and personal. Did he, I mean, I know it's tough because it's the summer league and some people are going to say that it doesn't mean much, but at least to you personally, Brandon, did he validate to you why he was the number 5 overall pick, at least so far what he's shown in summer league?
You know what? Troy Weaver actually said that he was the home run pick. Mm-hmm. And the more and more that I'm kind of seeing the tools that he has.
Oh, he's right.
I believe he is right. He is right. He was definitely the pick to have at number 5. I think if you do a redraft in a few years, we might see that he's the guy that probably should have went a few picks higher than he actually did. That's just me. I'm going to put my name on that. I don't even know how much that matters. But that's just how much I actually believe in him, man. Just as a guy who's played basketball, I really like what I saw from him. We want to see if this guy's going to go out there and dominate. You know, are you going to use your physicality, your athleticism to kind of go out there and dominate in places where maybe your shot, if it's not falling, some of the things that we can control a little bit less? Can you go out there and control some of the things that we've said, you know, hey, can Killian Hayes, even in Summer League, can he go out there and look like the best playmaker? Those are things that you can actually control. Mm-hmm. Well, Asar Thompson, with all the things people said, well, his 6 assists, well, that's playing with high schoolers. Well, now he's just done it at the NBA Summer League level. He showed he is pretty good playmaker. His defense, they say, well, that's just playing against high schoolers. Well, he went out there and he was looking like at least Summer League Ron Artest. So for at least right now, for the things that I wanted to see.
You mean on the court, Ron
on
Artest?
On the court.
Okay.
On the court.
Continue. Just making sure.
On the court. So at least for the things I wanted to see, he's doing it. And we said this with Jalen Duren. As they continue to kind of pass these markers, just continue to do that as we go into training camp and then into the season. But right now, he's kind of exceeding some expectation.
Now the next thing we got to get into, Marcus Sasser had a 40-burger against the Pacers. And I got to tell you, too, for Marcus Sasser, and he was playing against a minimal NBA competition, but the point is he's a man amongst boys. That's what you want to see. I always say I don't typically take a ton from the Summer League, but what you want to see is, do we have NBA players? Do we have guys that, again, play above the competition, can thrive? Keegan Murray came out and had a 40-piece. Like Jay Ivey played really well a second game. You look for that. You look for what will translate.
Jabari Smith.
Jabari Smith, another one. A perfect point. Guys that are just like, hey man, like I'm here to play against NBA players. Like Summer League for me is just a warm up. Sasser had 40, and he had 40 on 16 shots or 25 shots, excuse me. Made 16 of them, 5 for 9 from 3, and only 0 turnovers. Like that's important too. Scored at all 3 levels against the Pacers. Now, the bigger point to take away, and I want to ask you this. Does Sasser, with this performance and how he's looked in the Summer League, the tenacity he plays with, can you see a scenario where Marcus plays regular season games quicker than not? Because I think the whole knock before was, I think he'll get reps in the G League. The dude looks like he could play in the NBA right away. What do you think?
I believe he has the skill set to do so. I believe that the Pistons have to make sure they carve out the role for him to do so. What we saw in the Summer League is based on where he's playing, based on the type of responsibility they asked him to do, that might affect what he's able to do. But when he was kind of put in that role, kind of what I wanted the Pistons to get, one of those gunner combo guards that can just flat out score from pretty much anywhere on the court, that's what we saw to Marcus Sasser when they kind of took Jaden Ivey, James Wiseman, Asar Thompson, those guys that were kind of getting a bulk of the shot attempts. When you take them out the mix, you reduce this kind of playmaking role that they had him in the first couple games. He looked exactly like the player that I was hoping he could be. If he could bring the defensive intensity, that like hustle, no plays off, you saw him kind of pickpocketing the guards. He wasn't making it easy on them. Those are things that are going to keep him on the court, as well as that three-point shot. We saw him a little bit more comfortable in that last game, and he looked a little bit more as advertised in that last game than he had from 3 the previous game. So I do believe he has the skill set. I think that the role is going to largely define the impact he's able to make.
Brandon, you said something at the very beginning when I asked you about Asar Thompson that made me perk up a little bit, but I didn't. I'm following up on it just now. So you said that Asar Thompson, you might look back at him someday as a guy who should have went a couple of picks higher, possibly, potentially. Are you saying that there's a chance, and I'm going to ask you to be Nostradamus right now, that he has a better and more impactful career than, say, Brandon Miller? Is that within the realm of possibility?
That was one of the names I was thinking about. Okay. Brandon Miller and potentially his brother. Obviously, that competition is going to be one that goes on into these guys probably well after they retire.
Yes.
You know, so I do believe he has an opportunity to be a little bit better than Brandon Miller because of his game at the rim and his game in the paint. He's very, very explosive. The ways that Monty Williams is in his offenses has kind of featured players like Asar Thompson. They haven't even been this athletic, but when you put Asar Thompson in some of the packages that you've seen like Devin Booker and what I assume that they're going to continue to play Kevin Durant in, these things play to his strengths. The athleticism, the speed, his ability to kind of catch lobs, his ability to dunk in the half-court set. These are things that Troy Weaver talked about. You know, his ability to – he was like, he's fast. Not just in transition, but also in the half court. Man, I'm excited about Asar Thompson.
Now, the other question I have for you for Asar is how quickly can you see him, at least this season? Because especially now with Bojan not being dealt, he could potentially be a starter day one. Now you have kind of the 4 with Isaiah Stewart. He's extended, assuming he'll start at the 4. How quickly can we see Asar in that starting lineup, or you think he'll crack it night one with the defense he provides? Because I think what he provides without scoring is the most intriguing part of Asar Thompson. Even not having the ball, dominating the ball, he still makes an impact. What do you think? Is it day one, or do you think he gets eased into the starting lineup with more expectations this year? Which one is it?
Yeah, that's the interesting question there. I don't know how much the offense and the three-point shooting is going to play a role. You know, I think that if everybody else in this starting lineup is kind of firing on all cylinders offensively, then you can probably deal with the fact that Troy Weaver said, you know, shortly after they drafted him, that his defense is definitely ahead of his offense. His offense is going to have to learn some things. And that three-point shot, he's going to have to get comfortable. You know, so if that's kind of the notion, I could see him taking a little bit of time to get off the bench and into the starting lineup. But if that shot, if he's looking more like he did kind of towards his last 2 games in Summer League, then yeah, that guy can actually, in my opinion, start night one. I know it's a little bit bullish on the rookies, but just kind of seeing what he was able to do against some of the players he was matching up with, including some NBA players already like Jabari Smith, I liked what I saw, man, defensively. I really did.
Is there any concern, though, with Asar? You have Cade coming back after his injury, which assuming he'll be fine. I mean, no worries about Cade. Ivy in his second year, Jalen Duren, Isaiah Stewart. Your starting 5 is young, really young. Is there any concern there for a coach like Monty, who this year we expect him to win 30-ish games? Do you think that's fine? They could roll out with youth and be just fine? Or do you think they need to get some experience in that starting lineup?
Well, why did they draft Cade Cunningham? It was because of the fact that he was this kind of mature connector, this guy that almost came in and felt like a 4-year player. That's why they drafted him. You look at all the other draft picks that they have, these guys are serious players, and that's what Troy Weaver stated. I've said this before. I kind of chuckled at it when he said it in the post-draft press conference that, listen, we want serious ball players. And I'm just like, okay. But now you look at these guys and you realize they're serious ball players. The things that we say about Villanova guys who go 4 years, we say, hey, you know what? These guys, they're coming in ready to play. You know what? Marcus Sasser or Asar Thompson, these guys have given me no reason to believe that they shouldn't be looked at that way as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, definitely.
And kind of to piggyback off of that, how overall should Pistons fans be feeling about the Summer League? I'm not just talking about Sasser and Asar Thompson, even seeing guys like Jalen Duren, James Wiseman, Jaden Ivey get a little bit of playing time in the earlier games. How should Pistons fans feel? Like, should they be more optimistic now than before the Summer League?
I definitely think you should feel more optimistic now. I remember draft night, a lot of people were a little kind of mixed on the draft results. Now as we get through Summer League and you get to see our draft picks up against other draft picks and up against other first, second, third year players, you know, now all of a sudden you can start to say, you know what, hey, there's building blocks here. There's only so much we can take away from Summer League. The results, we can only take away so much. But at least we know that when there's competition out there, our guys are out there trying to do their best. I think the thing I love the most from Asar Thompson is in his interview with ESPN after one of the games, I believe it was the fourth one, when he said, look, man, I'm just trying to stay on the court. I'm trying to do everything possible to stay on the court. If I can't, if my shot's not falling, got to play make, got to get my teammates involved, got to play defense. That was the notion. I love that about these guys. And Sasser, since he's been here, has consistently stated the same things as well. Same thing. So it's encouraging with these.
Well, I'll tell you what. We'll go to break. When we get back, stay with us because I have a segment here for the over/under for the Pistons that just came out, and I want to get people's reaction to it and get your thoughts on it as well. But before we do that, I'm going to tell you about our friends over at Guardian Alarm, because if the Pistons are going to win 30 games, you're going to need some defense like Guardian Alarm. And I'll tell you what, they got customized solutions from real experts. They got 24/7 professional monitoring, and they got technology backed by wonderful people. All you got to do is call 1-800-STAY-OUT. Today, call 1-800-STAY-OUT. And tell them your friends at Woodward Sports sent you.
It's the Randy Wise Celebrity Golf Tour.
You're a good coach, Tim. Oh, great shot.
Some of the biggest names in Michigan sports, and some, well, not so much.
Oh, yeah, baby. Oh, yeah, baby.
Shit. Watch episodes at woodwardsports.com.
The only sports network in Detroit that starts with a W. Because we win.
Woodward Sports.
Detroit's winning sports network.
We're back here. It's the Morning Woodward Show on Woodward Sports Network. Thank you guys for sticking with us. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the YouTube channel, like the stream if you haven't already. But if you can't watch live, you can catch the podcast or the show on any podcast app you listen to. Apple, Spotify, doesn't matter. Leave a 5-star review for Sam Flannel and his wonderful flannels. If you're on woodwardsports.com, don't forget to check out the latest news, updates, merchandise, show clips, and articles from our wonderful writers. Example A would be Kool-Aid, who we have today talking about the Detroit Pistons. And we just got done talking about Summer League. I want to ask you about expectations because, when I say 30 wins, which I think isn't even a big number to ask for, people are like, 30 wins for the Pistons? It's like, yeah, dude, this happens every year. Like, those are fair expectations. 30 wins. They won 17 games last year, no Cade, and they rested pretty much everybody the last, 20 games. Yeah. So don't tell me if Cade's there, they can't win 20s. And then now you got better. So by the numbers, you win 30 now, right? That's how this works with Monty Williams. Just checking. The over-under just came out, according to Evan Siddery, and he put out, and this is not just according to Evan, but this is DKSportsbook.com. The over-under for the Pistons is at 27.5. So 30 wins, is that crazy? I mean, it's 2.5 wins over what their over-under is. That's fair. If you can't win 30 games, someone needs to get in trouble here, unless there's injuries, but someone needs to be held accountable. This isn't like, hey, they're going to win 30 games being optimistic. This is realistic. They should win 30 games. What are your thoughts on it? 27.5 over under. How are you feeling about it?
I'm really, really, really glad at your last qualifier in your statement there. It's about the expectation. Before this season started, that kind of got derailed by injuries. The hope was that this team was going to be one that could win 30. And if everything went right, 35, 36, 37 games. That was the hope. That was the expectation.
Yes.
Going into this season, when you seemingly have gotten better, you seemingly added a few more rotation pieces to your roster, and right now, the three-point shooting is significantly better than it's been the last however many years. I think that expectation should be at least 30 wins. At least. You're resetting things. You're getting Cade Cunningham back. You need to know, and you have to get something out of these guys. You didn't draft Cade and Ivy and Duran and these guys to just sit and wait forever to, get some type of return. This is the time now. You have a good mix of veterans. You have a good mix of young, high-talented players, young players, and you have these rookies that are coming in that realistically don't know any better. But to just go full-fledged, the expectations we should place on this team and this organization is at least 30 wins. It's not like you said, blind optimism. It's about, hey, listen, this is year 4. This is where we should at least be, and that's giving the injury year a huge bump. So I agree with you.
It's like when you discuss the Lions, at least locally, you say, well, they'll win the division. But if you say that nationally, it's like, oh, you're optimistic about the Lions. It's like, no, those are expectations. By default, you go for 9 wins. Go get it done. Go win your division. For the Pistons here, and I want to read some of these comments. Paul Thomas says, agree with the king, Kool-Aid. Pat says,
appreciate you.
Or excuse me, this is Bob Johnson says, this is Weaver's 4th year. Sad we were hoping for 30 wins. Yeah, guys, 30 should be a given. Sam, Your thoughts on that over-under, 27.5.
I'm interested in this.
No, yeah, you should be interested in this. And this
Hold
is,
your seats.
Wait a minute. This is not even that big of a hot take in my opinion, but I might use some language that may make some of you uncomfortable. If the Detroit Pistons, I am so confident that they will hit the over, and I believe it's so much in what they have at their core and what they did in the offseason that if for any godforsaken reason the Detroit Pistons go under, Troy Weaver should be fired. 100%. That is, but I think that that's highly unlikely.
What if the rookies look well? What if the rookies look good?
Wait, what?
Not saying you're wrong, but just giving you the devil's advocate. Where you're at with that?
If the rookies look good, given the fact that they already have their core of Duren, Ivy, and Cade, do you really think there's any chance in hell that they will win less than 28 games? That they will hit
I
the
don't think
under?
so.
That's the thing. And, I get it. This is an imperfect roster. I don't think this is a team that's going to go to the play-in or anything, but I predict 34 wins, personally. So 27, that would be just unacceptable. Like, here's the thing. You're adding Cade Cunningham. He missed 70 games last year. I predict, my stat line prediction for Cade Cunningham is 23.6 rebounds, 7 assists. That is my prediction. I know that kind of seems a little bit random, but the reason I'm picking that is because that's exactly what he did in March of 2022, which was his rookie season, on 48% shooting, and I expect his three-point percentage to go up as well. I expect Jaden Ivey, I don't know if he'll put up monster numbers, but I think his efficiency will go up as his usage goes down slightly. I think Jalen Duren could give you maybe 13 to 15 points and 11 to 12 rebounds per game as he gets more minutes, because his per 36 numbers, he was basically giving you 13 and 13 on 65% shooting. You got Asar Thompson and Marcus Sasser, who I think will vastly improve the defense. And in the case of Marcus Sasser, at least the three-point shooting, Joe Harris and Monty Morris will definitely up the three-point shooting. And I didn't even mention Cade Cunningham's defense. At some point in the Troy Weaver era, results have to matter. And that's just the reality of the situation. I think they are at the stage of the rebuild where you can't have another 25 or below win season, because they've only won 60 combined in Troy Weaver's first 3 seasons. I'm not calling for a play-in. I'm just calling for them to make improvements. And for God's sakes, do not win 27 games or less. That is grounds for termination for Troy Weaver.
What do you think, JB? Voice of reason, JB Smooth, 27.5. Is that fair? You slamming the over, play-in? What are you thinking?
I'm definitely taking the over. I don't want to go as far as Sam is saying, hey, Troy Weaver needs to be fired if somehow, some way they don't make it to 27, but you're hopeful. You're hoping for that 28 to 30 range, or at least for me, I'm at least hoping for 30 or above. But as Flannel said, you've improved a hell of a lot, especially given these 2 rookies right now, as we've seen in the summer league. I don't see any possibility where they don't hit this number. I just don't. That's just me, though.
And I'm with JB. I'm with Sam to some extent too. Like, what they're saying is true. For the Pistons, I think this season ultimately rides on Cade's health, like point blank, because he is the connector. He is the best player. He is the guy closest to being an all-star. So I think 27.5 is very doable, and if anything, it should be expected. You win 30 games, because in the East, to contend for that play-in spot, you got to be damn near 40 wins, at least 40. That's how it's been the last 2 seasons to make the play-in. Any chance they make that play-in, Kool-Aid? I'm going to give you a lifeline here to drink some of this Kool-Aid. You can, no pun intended, by the way.
Man.
But you can have some of this Kool-Aid, or you could say, you know what, contend for the play-in. But Lindsey Hunter said on Big D Energy, I think it was 2 weeks ago, that he believes that they can contend for the play-in and or make it without any significant free agency additions. Now, they didn't really make any significant free agency additions. I think Lindsey Hunter thinks they're a play-in team. Are you jumping off the boat? Are you getting on that boat with
anywhere, Kool-Aid?
Man,
are you getting on that boat with them, Kool-Aid?
You know what? Listen, I'm generally about pushing the teams too high expectations, and sometimes that comes across as drinking the Kool-Aid. With this one in particular, I want to see this team get there. For as much as I believe in Cade Cunningham, and when we start just talking about the stats predictions, it says that this team should be a little bit better in the East. What I want to see is their defense. If they are a defensive scrappy team, I believe that this team should and will compete for the play-in. That I will say. But they got to go out there on a defensive end and absolutely shut it down. Like I want to see this team look like a young, scrappy, hungry team. Even if even if defensively they're sometimes out of position because they're still learning, they should be able to make up for that. And if they're doing that, then I do believe they have enough offense, and I think that they have enough between Cade, Ivy, and then professional scorers like Bojan, Alec, Joe Harris, Monty Morris. Like, these are some, it's a good mix of talent here. They have the recipe to do it. The Cavs, they kind of did this one year where they went from, kind of out of the playoffs to instantly up the charts. And I do believe the Pistons have the recipe. I'll say that.
What recipe do they have, Sam Flannel?
Well, Kool-Aid, I think you're kind of struggling with the same thing that I'm struggling with. And Kool-Aid, you know ball. You know more ball than I do, and I will gladly admit that on camera. But that's Lindsey Hunter. And I completely disagree with Lindsey Hunter and the fact that they'll make the playoffs this year. And it sounds like, Kool-Aid, that you do too in principle. But this is Lindsey Hunter. He has forgotten more about basketball than any of us will ever know. So if he talks, who are we to necessarily disagree with them? And I think one of the reasons that he chooses, and I think he's even more high on this than any of us, he really thinks that just the addition of Monty Williams, he said, will add 15 wins itself. I think that's a little bit crazy, but then again, who am I to disagree with Lindsey Hunter? Because he's played the game, he knows the game like the back of his hand. So how much of a bump does just Monty Williams bring to this team alone?
And I'll say this too, my take on coaching in the NBA, and I've been consistent with this, I think coaching matters, not as much as the NFL, but coaching in the NBA matters the most situationally. Playoffs, 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter, draw up a play. Go get a bucket. That's when coaching matters. I think coaching matters more with young players because you saw Utah last year. Will Hardy did what with that? I mean, they won how many games? I thought Utah was going to be one of the worst teams in the NBA. Coaching matters, I think, for young teams. Once you get great players, you just got to be a manager. You just got to make sure everyone's happy. You got to make sure you have a money play drawn up to win a game or in 2 minutes left to go get a bucket. But how much will the addition of Monty mean for this young roster this season? Because we saw with the Suns, 19 wins, 34 wins. What can they do this season? Is Monty that significant? Because we think it's significant, but that's double the wins?
Listen.
Double?
That's why I've been saying that they have the recipe, because they really do. They've made, in my opinion, some great draft picks over the last few years that I believe you have to start seeing some dividends on if they are truly great draft picks. This is the season for it. Monty Williams, as a coach, we've seen him do this before. And what they're saying he's going to bring to the Pistons, what they're saying is like his philosophy, his actual X's and O's, it could unlock some aspect of this team's offense and put them in better position defensively. These are the kind of the things they need to make happen. We were just saying about a year ago, before the season started, that we believe this team was ready to at least potentially surprise people for the play-in. If we believe that they've gotten better and they've added a coach that we think can unlock and get better out of these young players, like you alluded to, it's not far out of the realm of possibility. Like, Lindsey Hunter's not, like you said, Flannel, who are we to argue with Lindsey?
Right.
One of the Pistons playoff legends. Like I said, you love stats. He's all over that thing. So it's like, we're not going to sit and really argue with him on that. But this team really has to push. I think that they have the recipe. I want to say, that they're going to do it. I think people would say I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. From a basketball standpoint, they have the recipe. Like, go out there and do it. But I know chemistry, injuries, coach getting to know his players getting to know themselves. Jaden Ivey to start the season was just a different player by the end of the season. And if Asar Thompson has to go through that, I do believe that can affect what this team can do as it relates to actually making the play-in.
Yeah, as much as shooting matters, which people, after the Asar pick, Sasser, they would agree he addressed shooting. But after Asar, everybody's like, what? Where's the shooting? Like this team couldn't stop a nosebleed on defense. So they get Asar Thompson. Now people are happy. The shooting got addressed, but they just have to be able to defend as a team. And I think Monty will help that as well. And offensively, that 0.5 offense, I think will benefit Cade, Ivy, everybody else. So I'm excited about that. Now, some would say Lindsey Hunter smoking that dispo. I didn't say it. Some people would say it. Now, if you want to indulge in the same stuff he's indulging in, maybe, go to Dispo, because they got the experience, the true meaning of exceptional cannabis products with Dispo Dispensary. Indulge in the finest selection of cannabis curated with care. With over 10 locations, Dispo is never too far away. Visit DispoShops.com today and unlock a world of endless possibilities in the realm of cannabis. That is DISPOShops.com, your local cannabis plug.
How would you like to win not one, but 2 vehicles of your choice? One for you and one for your wife, your girlfriend, or your best bud. Get to Lady Jane's today for an award-winning haircut and automatically enter for your chance to win. Courtesy of Les Stanford Buick GMC of Ferndale. Lady Jane's, open 7 days a week, walk in anytime. It's wicked awesome. All of Detroit's sports teams live on Woodward.
All of Detroit's sports coverage lives on Woodward Sports.
Driving the best in Detroit sports coverage.
Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. About an hour and a half into the show, 30 minutes into the second hour. Jeff Iafrate, Sam Flannel, JB, Gabby D. Phillips, and Lucas Klotz. We just got done talking to Detroit Kool-Aid, a.k.a. Brandon Dent, the beat reporter for Woodward Sports, writes for the Detroit Pistons. He's a dog. He's a certified dog. I love Kool-Aid so much. We're going to get to now a Michigan topic from my main man, Sam Flannel. And I knew you'd have fun with this. Hunter Dickinson. Lucas, do you have the screenshots of what was said in the article?
I can grab them.
Because they're also in the Morning Woodward Show group chat. And I want to put these up and kind of get some context as well, some of what Hunter Dickinson said. And it doesn't matter the order in which you put them up, Lucas. I'll just read them when you put them up. He had an interview, and he went on a podcast, and I'll read this one. He went on the Rock Chalk Unplugged podcast and had some public comments about Michigan fans. And this is what he said. Going down Mass Street, it feels like this town has had its own kind of culture and stuff like that, Hunter Dickinson said. I'm super excited when students come back and the towns get bustling and stuff like that. Okay. But just walking around, the people are super, super welcoming, super nice. Definitely get those Midwest vibes. I feel like in Michigan, they weren't as nice. They were nice, but not as nice. Now, do you have the other quote that I want to read too? Just this other one. Additionally, Hunter Dickinson went on to state that Kansas is the true Midwest, unlike Michigan. He says, quote, I feel like Michigan is a fake Midwest, Hunter Dickinson said. Kansas is actually like a Midwest town. I love my time at Michigan, but the people here at Kansas are especially nice. So Sam Flannel, what's going on over in Ann Arbor? A bunch of assholes or what? What's going on? Why is Hunter Dickinson throwing shots at you?
All right, so here's the I know a lot of you are thinking I'm going to yell and scream and condemn Hunter Dickinson. Au contraire, mon frere. I actually don't blame Hunter Dickinson for all of this. And here's why. Here's the reality of the situation, and I see them in the chat. I see them in Detroit sports media. I've even seen it at this station from time to time. And I'm not trying to be mean, but Michigan basketball is not really as highly thought of and highly beloved as a sport as Michigan football. So what does that mean, do you ask? That means that a lot of Michigan basketball fans, for lack of a better term, are casuals. They look at Hunter Dickinson's career, they look at last season, and they say stuff like, oh, it was Hunter Dickinson's fault. It's all Hunter Dickinson's fault. Hunter Dickinson is mid. Hunter Dickinson's a bum. And I will say this, Hunter Dickinson, as an NBA prospect, I think from where he was his freshman year to now, is a little bit disappointing. But the reality is that Hunter Dickinson should be appreciated by Michigan fans, not condemned. And I think he's going to go to a place in Kansas where he is going to be more appreciated. So because this is more my segment, I actually came up with a little bit, as I would like to call the resume, the ballad of Hunter Dickinson. So Hunter Dickinson comes in as a freshman. He leads the team in points, rebounds, and assists on a team that also includes Franz Wagner and Isaiah Livers. Pretty good, I would say. College players, Isaiah Livers, we know him very well in the Pistons. Franz Wagner was a top 10 pick, and he's a pretty damn good NBA player. He leads the team in points, rebounds, and not assists, my bad, blocks. Of course not assists, blocks. Second team All-American, is first team All-Big Ten. Michigan in that season wins the Big Ten regular season, and they go to the Elite Eight. An Elite Eight in which they completely choke to UCLA. And don't get me wrong, Hunter Dickinson did not play very well in that game, but that was more of a total team failure. And in that game, Hunter Dickinson still led the team in scoring and points. Isaiah Livers was out, and Franz Wagner, a very beloved Michigan basketball figure, in that game, in the biggest game of his life, goes 1 for 10, 0 of 4 from 3. Was that Hunter Dickinson's fault? No. In his sophomore season, Hunter Dickinson comes back. Michigan is preseason top 5. Michigan has this insane recruiting class that includes highlighted by Caleb Houston and Moussa Diabate, who were both 5 stars. but Michigan, unfortunately, vastly underperforms in the regular season. But like the previous year, Hunter Dickinson leads the team in points, rebounds, and blocks. One of the big problems with that team is that both Caleb Houston and Moussa Diabate were massive disappointments. Caleb Houston was supposed to be a sharp-shooting wing, shoots 38% from the floor on the season, averages 10 a game, goes stretches where he couldn't throw a volleyball into the ocean. Moussa Diabate, although he was impactful with his athleticism and sometimes his defense, he was a very, very raw offensive player, averaged 9 points per game. But Michigan, they did sneak into the tournament, made the Sweet 16, all well and good. And in that Sweet 16 run, Hunter Dickinson averages 21 points, 11 rebounds, 2 blocks on 56% shooting, 43% from 3, and including a masterpiece against Tennessee in which he wraps a stat line of 27, 11, and 4 on, what is it? What was the shooting splits? But it was, 62, 60, 80 shooting splits. Pretty damn good against a heavily favored Tennessee team. You guys may be wondering, how did Caleb Houston do in that Sweet 16 run? He puts up 6 points, 3 rebounds a game on 33% shooting, 25% from 3, and does not attempt a single free throw. Moussa Diabate averages 9 points and 7 rebounds on 48% shooting. And Hunter Dickinson leads the team in scoring in every single game of the tournament. Was that season Hunter Dickinson's fault? No, it was the fact that Moussa Diabate and Caleb Houston were massive underperformers. They were highly ranked recruits. They did a whole lot of bubkiss during their time. But yet I keep hearing about, Hunter Dickinson regressed. It's Hunter Dickinson's fault. Let's look at the junior season of Hunter Dickinson, the single most painful season of my life as a Michigan basketball fan. It was absolutely brutal. But once again, Hunter Dickinson leads the team in points, rebounds, assists on a team that includes 2 top 15 draft picks in Jet Howard and Kobe Buffkin. The problem wasn't Jet Howard and Kobe Buffkin. They both showed out, particularly Kobe Buffkin. I know Jet Howard had some issues, but I think he was overall a net positive for the team. They both end up being top 15 draft picks. But they don't even make the goddamn NCAA tournament. And let me just say this too. Hunter Dickinson was first team All Big Ten. Coaches and second team media voted first team All Big Ten, and coaches voted second team All Big Ten. The problem with that team was Juwan Howard had one of the worst coaching seasons I've ever seen out of a college basketball coach, and the fact that the supporting cast outside of the big 3 was rat poo dog water for the most part. Jalen Llewellyn, the transfer from, I believe, Princeton, he got hurt earlier on in the season. He was terrible when he played. I wasn't wishing injury, obviously. I hope he has a speedy recovery, but he didn't do jack when he played. And Doug McDaniel was the backup point guard as a freshman, forced to kind of play a role he wasn't ready for. He was solid at points during the season, but he was a 38% shooter. And then you look at Terrace Reed, who was their power forward, who actually was a higher-ranked recruit coming out than Jet Howard, but he gives you a whopping 3.4 points and 3.9 rebounds per game. Just raw as uncooked chicken offensively. And then, but what really hurt this team was the play of the goddamn forwards from hell. Terrence Williams, Joey Baker, and Will Shedder. Terrence Williams on the season averages 6 points per game on 39% shooting and 25% from 3. Joey Baker, a.k.a. Bum. Joey Baker, that's not a good nickname, but still, he's a bum. He's terrible. 5.7.
This man was a bona fide scrub.
Thank you, Stephen. Thank you, Stephen A. Right out of the horse's mouth. He averaged 5.7 points per game on 39% shooting, a decent 3-point shooting percentage. But I'm not done with you, Joey Baker. Will Shedder. Everybody was clamoring for Will Shedder at points of the season. Play Will Shedder. Play Will Shedder. Averaged a whopping 2.3 points per game, and they were having, obviously, Michigan, not a very good season. They had a 3-game stretch to end the year in which and then the 3 games at the end of the regular season and 1 game in the Big Ten tournament where they really, really needed to win at least 2 of those games. How does Hunter Dickinson respond in those 4 games? By averaging 26 points, 12 rebounds, 3 blocks on 60% shooting and 60% from 3, including one of the most memorable plays of the year, the most memorable play of the year, that game-tying 3-pointer against Wisconsin at home, which temporarily saved the season because they would go on to win that game. And if they lose that game, their tournament hopes are largely over. But Michigan, despite that great play from Hunter Dickinson, goes 1-3 in those games and misses the tournament. Would you like to know why, everybody? It's not because of Jet Howard. It's not because of Kobe Buffkin. What did Terrence Williams do in those games? He averaged 3 a game on 23% shooting and goes 0 from 3. Will Shedder, everybody's favorite Will Shedder, scores 2 total points in 4 games despite playing 13 minutes a game, does not make a single field goal. Doug McDaniel has a solid game against Wisconsin, but over those 4 games, averages 10 points, 3 assists on 34% shooting, not good enough. Terrace Reed averages 3 points per game, 5 rebounds on 30% shooting despite being a big man. And last but not least, my least favorite Michigan basketball player of all time, Joey Baker, averages 4 points per game on 23% shooting and 23% from 3, including back-to-back donuts, where he scores 0.0 in overtime losses at Illinois and at Indiana. And Joey Baker, it gets better, guys. It gets better for Joey Baker. And by the way, I'm using this as context. This is what Hunter Dickinson had to deal with while playing great in those last 4 games. Joey Baker goes on to have his career-high game in the fucking first round of the NIT against your school, Toledo. That actually happened. That actually happened.
Keep Toledo out of this.
Michigan fans, you remember that. In that NIT first-round game, he goes 8 of 11 from the floor, 5 of 7 from 3, and scores 21 points. Even though I gave you the numbers of in the last 4 when they needed him to make a few shots, he averages 4 a game on 23% from the floor and 23% from 3. And the whole time that damn NIT game was going on, all I just kept thinking, I was seething. I was there just like, Jiminy Crackhorn, I hate Joey Baker. Jiminy Crackhorn, I hate Joey Baker.
Okay, how
Jiminy
the hell?
Crackhorn, I hate Joey Baker. Get the fuck out of Ann Arbor forever.
So essentially, Hunter Dickinson in these comments, the takeaway, Joey Baker. Is that what
it's not just Joey.
What?
I am. You know why I went on that big monologue? Because the reality of the situation is Hunter Dickinson was a great Michigan player.
Okay,
he should
all
be
right.
celebrated. This is all the stuff that he had to work with over the last 3 seasons. It was not his fault in the slightest that they fell short of expectations last 2 years. He should be praised, and I hope he goes on to Kansas and balls out, because at Kansas, they might actually appreciate him. All the casual Michigan fans, you guys took him for granted. You will miss him when he's gone. When Michigan goes 500 and 7-11 in Big Ten play, they're going to miss Hunter Dickinson. You watch.
Oh, they're gonna miss him, all right. You know what they're gonna miss, Lucas? You can throw it up.
What is it? What am I throwing up right now?
This is Hunter Dickinson. This is what he wore. This is reported. He had the same outfit when he walked over to Kansas and robbed them for roughly $4 million in NIL. This is what he was wearing on the Kansas campus. Lucas, can you throw up that graphic?
Let me get it. Yeah. Is that what you were pointing to earlier?
Yeah, like this is the biggest thing to take away for Hunter Dickinson. This dude showed up against Wisconsin with this.
That was not smart. I will give you that. That was not smart.
This is your king. This is who you're defending.
No, he's not. He's not my king. But I'll tell you,
man.
When they needed him most in the last 4 games of this season, with their tournament hopes on the line, Hunter Dickinson played the best basketball of his life, but was let down by bums like Joey Baker and Will Shedder and Terrence Williams, and of course Doug McDaniel wasn't ready, and Terrace Reed being a big man, averaging 3 and 5 while shooting 30%. Those are the type of things that let Hunter Dickinson down. And Juwan Howard.
I don't give a damn what he did. That discredits everything right there. Wearing a ski mask to go steal a game. You know, I'll tell you what. Kansas paid $4 million for mid. And they're going to see that this year. Kansas, if they have success, I don't think we're going to look back and say, man, Hunter Dickinson was a huge reason why Kansas
will be a huge reason.
We shall revisit this. We shall. I'll tell you what, we'll go to break. We're kind of over the time there. Again, Joey Baker.
Final one-on-one.
9:41. We'll get to what's trending with Lucas. But before we do that, I got to tell you, or actually no, JB has to tell you about our friends over at Big Boy.
Don't take his read again.
Yeah, don't do that, Jeff. But let me tell you all about Big Boy, because Strawberry Fest is back at Big Boy. Try the classic breakfast items like the strawberry hotcakes or the mouth-watering red velvet waffles. But if you're not feeling breakfast, try their strawberry bacon chicken wrap or cool off with the refreshing summer splash salad. And don't leave without getting some dessert, because they have the very delicious classic strawberry pie, the deep fried vanilla Oreos, and of course the strawberry hot fudge cakes and more at your local Big Boy.
By now you know me, Christina Gennari, as the obvious choice in real estate. And you know my website, soldchristina.com, as your #1 resource for buying or selling your home. Myself, along with my amazing staff, pride ourselves on making your home buying and selling experience a relaxing and easy one. Come see why we are the obvious choice. Christina Gennari at soldchristina.com, the obvious choice in real estate.
Love Woodward Sports? Love wearing clothes? Then you should be wearing Woodward Sports clothes. Check out our full line of merch at woodwardsports.com. Just click on shop. We have all your favorite designs, like Dan Campbell kneecaps, Woodward golf, and of course, our own logoed out merchandise. Men, women, infants, kids all love Woodward Sports. Impress your friends. Impress your boss. Impress your dog. Buy Woodward Sports merch today.
Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show here at woodwardsports.com. Thanks so much for tuning in with us this Monday morning. If you're not already, follow us on all social media at Woodward Sports. If you're listening to this episode via podcast, download and leave a 5-star review. And if you're watching on YouTube, like and subscribe. If you're watching on the website, check out our previous shows, clips, merchandise, articles, and more. But now it's time for What's Trending.
Lucas, what do you got for us?
All right,
Talk to
so
me.
This first video, it's about. All I'm going to say is about Victor Wembanyama because there's truly no words I can put into this, but apparently these two had some opinions on him.
Dreams, and I will tell you this: when Victor tears his first ACL, I would like you to come back and say you're right, Dave, because Victor's going to tear his ACL setting a screen because he doesn't have what it takes there. And that's what we're saying. We're not saying anything about his game. We're not talking shit on his game. We're saying his mental aspect is weak. And that's why Chet is going to dominate the NBA, is because if you look at what Chet is able to do mentally, right, there's a difference. There's a dog, all right? And people call it a dog. I call it a wolf. The wolf inside Chet is going to devour Victor every single time. Victor might have the plus in the first or second matchup, but after Chet understands how to guard Victor and how to take advantage of the system, I'm telling you guys, it doesn't matter. Chet will make Victor look stupid because he'll isolate Victor, he'll go around Victor, he'll finish on Victor, he'll put him in the post, he'll take him out, he'll take him like a point guard, and then he'll pass the ball to the wide open man because they'll have to double down on Chet because Victor will not be enough.
So I usually never do this. Like, I hate saying you don't know ball. Those guys don't know ball, man. Like that. Okay.
They don't have the wolf in them to know ball.
Yeah. By the way, the terminology, Chet is just gonna go around him, dude. Okay.
Chet's gonna take him to the 3-point line.
Let me just say this: how the hell can you say when Victor tears his ACL, I want you to come back and say I'm right? Hey, dipshit! Everybody says he could be injury prone. It's not just you, bud. And the other part of that, dude, Victor played on a global stage. He was, you could argue, one of the most popular athletes in the world, and played in a more physical league, and held his own.
Dude,
and held his own.
That video had me just baffled. I watched it after hitting a dispo pack, and I was probably laughing hysterically for like 5 minutes. It's just, at this point, look, that's just got to be racist at that point, in my opinion. It's got to be racist.
That smells like racism.
Chet just coming off a major injury.
Just he had a Liz Frank injury last season.
But it's up here.
Oh,
He's got that wolf.
Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, apparently one guy who's a $150 is better than the other guy who's a $150. Like, what are we doing here? I get concerns about injury, Sam, but don't sit there and act like Victor can't handle the heat. He's missing up here.
No, this is completely and utter ridiculousness. This is the type of basketball fan that I absolutely cannot stand. There's no real basis for it. And yeah, Jeff, you mentioned it. He first guessed that he might be injury prone. Oh, by the way, you mentioned Chet Holmgren his rookie year. He had to miss it with a Liz Frank injury. And for the record, I think both of them are going to be very, very good. But also, what basis does he use? Oh, he doesn't have that dog or that wolf. And by the way, I'm going to make a general statement. That dog is the most overrated thing in all of sports and cannot be quantified by anything. It's just a feeling. Victor Wembanyama will be fine, and so will Chet Holmgren, for the record.
Oh, I love it.
All right, but so that made...
Thanks for putting me through that.
Yeah, that more so made me laugh, but if you want to see something that genuinely made me mad over the weekend, it's right here. So... Terrence Williams, former Detroit Lion, if I'm not so mistaken, for a year, says Jalen Hurts, he's talking about Jalen Hurts. Jalen is spectacular, but to me it's not even close. Jalen is more of a runner. He's on the ground. He's a ground and pound QB. Dak's the best of both worlds. What world are we living in where Dak Prescott is the best of both worlds, even though he's failed to take you to an NFC championship, let alone a Super Bowl? And he has had, in my opinion, the most, like, if here's a rookie quarterback and you have a perfect shoe to help you develop, it's the Dallas Cowboys with Dak Prescott and how he came into the league. To sit here and still say that Dak Prescott is the best of both worlds is insane, let alone better than Jalen Hurts. I don't understand it. Flannel, Jeff, JB, Gabby, anybody.
I mean,
if you can knock some sense into me here.
No, I'm with you, Lucas. Best of both worlds. What, in a galaxy far, far away? Like, what best of both worlds are we discussing with Dak Prescott?
Great Toy Story reference for Sid.
Wow. That hit
was
hard.
right there.
I don't get it.
I'll tell you this about Dak Prescott. I don't like Dak Prescott. I'm not a huge fan of him. I know he's had seasons where he's put up numbers, but I make this argument consistently with Dak and Jared Goff. If we're taking a quarterback and you need to win a playoff game, although Dak has better stats, he falls short with better teams. So with Jared Goff, he's at least he's shown he can quarterback a team. Maybe not be the biggest reason you win, but Dak Prescott, you want to talk about the last guys? You're missing something up here.
That's what I'm saying.
If you want to bring that argument up, it's with Dak, Sam Flannel.
Okay, so for the record, I think this comment is 100% ridiculous and stupid. Jalen Hurts is better than Dak Prescott. But Lucas, you mentioned that 2016 season. I get it. He came in with Ezekiel Elliott, that all-time great offensive line with like peak Tyron Smith, Zach Martin, all of the moves and all of that.
Prime Amari Cooper.
And whatever that, Travis Frederick, the center.
Forgot about Frederick.
But here's the thing. In that playoff game in which they lost, they didn't lose because of Dak Prescott. They lost because they gave up 34 points to Aaron Rodgers. So all I'm saying is this idea that Dak Prescott, and I've said it many times, is a playoff choker and Jared Goff is a playoff winner is false. Jared Goff is a very, very mid-playoff quarterback. He was carried like it was his casket and it was the pallbearers by that team.
I would never once be worried about Jared Goff with I want to say, like they said, 10 seconds with the game left, trying to spike the ball and make something happen instead of just clocking it. Remember when Dak Prescott, Dak Prescott in clutch situation his brain goes out. He doesn't have the wolf in him, and he never will. And the thing is, he acts like his talent is outside of that, and it doesn't.
No.
Jared Goff would have already taken that team to at least an NFC championship game from 2016 on.
And that's the thing that gets misconstrued with quarterbacks and how talented your quarterback is. Having an elite guy is yes, that's ideal. But it's the whole quarterback wins thing. It's like, that's why, quarterback wins, to me, it's hard to look at it because Jared Goff versus Dak in the playoffs. Is Jared a bigger reason why they're having success? No. But who do you trust in a playoff game? And if you want to go with Dak because the numbers look better, well, if you watch Dak last year, you could have him. Yeah, it's a little different. But regardless, you got anything else for us?
No, that's it. Let's get into some mailbag, huh?
Let's do it. Get those questions ready. We'll get to mailbag. We'll go to break. But before we do that, Sam, where can people get a good workout in?
That would be Planet Fitness, of course. I think after that Hunter Dickinson segment, I need to work out my vocal cords, but I also need to,
oh, geez.
Get the guns working again, because I'm right about Hunter Dickinson and a lot of you are wrong, and that's just facts. And Planet Fitness is home of the judgment-free zone, where anyone can feel comfortable and work on their fitness goals. We are here to help you build a lasting, active lifestyle. At Planet Fitness, you will experience a squeaky clean gym that has tons of equipment, a full-body workout in just 30 minutes in the 30-minute circuit, and all memberships include fitness training. You get all of this for only $10 a month. Yes, we are still for only $10 a month. Your fitness is essential, and fitness is a key part of physical and mental wellness, which is why we've invited teens between the ages of 14 and 19 to work out free all summer long with our high school summer pass program. For more information or to join today, visit your local Planet Fitness or planetfitness.com. No matter where you are, there's a Planet Fitness close by. There are more than 50 in Metro Detroit and thousands more throughout the world. It's Planet Fitness, where your fitness is essential.
At work and at home, we're there with smarter security solutions. Featuring complete automation with customized alerts and more. For over 90 years, we've been the company that's been counted on to protect what matters most, all with personalized service and care. Right now, for a limited time, receive a free video device plus free installation with a new home system. Guardian Alarm. We protect Michigan.
It's mailbag time, and let me tell you about our friends over at Outdoor Equipment Company. Because, guys, your childhood may be over, but certainly playtime is not. Outdoor Equipment Company is your source for outdoor power equipment. Sales, service, parts, carrying top brands such as Bad Boy, LS Tractor, Still, and much more. Servicing the Great Lakes region with locations in Metro Detroit and Greater Lansing. For more information, visit them at OutdoorEquipCo.com. Outdoor Equip Co., your power equipment playground. All right, let's get to some of these questions for the entire Morning Woodward Show crew. And we'll start with a question that I saw a little earlier. And it was about Sam Laporta that I want to let Lucas eat real quick. And by the way, Paul Johnson asked, Mailbag, what are the Laporta catch yards and TD stats this year? And I want to get this, just kind of clear this up before we get to the season. I love Sam Laporta. I think he'll be the best tight end out of this class.
You don't love him like I do.
But, well, I love Sam Laporta. I think, JB, you like Sam Laporta.
Oh, yeah.
You like Sam Laporta.
Yeah.
Then there's Lucas like Sam Laporta. Like Gabby likes Sam Laporta. Then there's another, like, Hall of Fame. You're anointing him already. But explain. What's his stats this season?
I think Laporta this year, give him around, like, 50 catches, 500-600 yards, 5-6 touchdowns. I don't think it's going to be anything, like, crazy. But you're going to see it within those 500-600 yards, those 6 touchdowns, those 50 catches, what he can bring to this offense and more so the game in general. And where the NFL is going, he's going to line perfectly. When Hooker comes in, it's going to be chops. Man's a gold jacket just waiting to happen.
Let's see. Mike G says, more all-purpose yards this year, Gibbs or Monty?
Gibbs.
You go with Gibbs?
I think he'll have between 1,200 and 1,500, just for rushing and receiving.
I would agree with Gibbs.
Yeah.
What do you think, JB? More all-purpose, David Montgomery or Jahmyr Gibbs?
Oh, Scott, this has to be Jahmyr Gibbs. Like, come on. Ben Johnson's going to find somehow, some way to move him all over that field, and it's going to be wide open for Goff. So this is easy. Jahmyr Gibbs.
What do you think, Gabby? More all-purpose yards. Who will have a better year, David or Jahmyr Gibbs? It's close.
It's really close. I'm going to lean Gibbs.
Okay. What do you think, Lucas?
Look, I mean, I know the quick answer seems to be Gibbs.
No, it's close.
But if we really think about it, David Montgomery, do we all think he could rush for 1,000 yards this year?
Yes, I do.
So if he can rush for 1,000 yards, he's a lot better receiver than people give him credit for. I think he's going to have 200-300 yards receiving. So I'm going to lean Monty slightly just based on I think he's going to have a lot more rushing success than people are giving him right now.
Mm-hmm. That's fair.
It's going to be close, though. It's no disrespect to Gibbs.
Yeah, I think I lean Gibbs is the big playability. Maybe he could break off for 60. David.
100%.
David, though, to your point, he can go for 1,000, 1,100 this year. So we shall see. Let's get to some more of these questions here. Mike G says, Lucas, is Toledo located right next to Iowa City?
No. Toledo's just in its own desolate wasteland. You don't want to go there.
You don't ever want to go to Toledo. Jesse Adams, mailbag. What's more likely to happen week 1? Marvin Jones and/or Khalif Raymond to have a touchdown, or the Lions get a pick 6 versus Patrick in Kansas City? I will say the first one. I think Marvin Jones and/or Khalif Raymond have a touchdown. If you're going to tell me the Lions defense will not only pick off, but score, that's a tough one.
Yeah, I think it's much more likely the first scenario. I think Marvin Jones could maybe get a red zone target and get a touchdown. They're not pick sixing Patrick Mahomes in week 1. I know you guys want it really, really bad. It's not going to happen.
Nate Watchman says, Mailbag Gabby, when is the Lions training camp open to fans? Are tickets required?
Tickets are not required. I'm not exactly sure the exact date. I know training camp does start next week. I'll double check on the dates open to fans and report back tomorrow.
Lucian says, Mailbag, Justin Herbert or Josh Allen, who is the better overall quarterback? If you compare the stats, the only thing Allen has over Herbert is touchdowns. Herbert, I think, is obviously better, though. I would go Allen. I would lean Josh Allen because you're taking into consideration the 800 he has on the ground with almost double-digit touchdowns. I think that matters. But I would lean Allen. It's close, but I'm going to go Allen. What about you, Sam?
God, I would say Josh Allen now, but I like both of them. I think they're two people that have gotten a little bit overly slandered, I would say. And here's my take for the season. Lucas, you are going to love this. Josh Allen and Justin Herbert will both have better seasons than Joe Burrow.
Oh my God, on what context? On what are we talking statistics?
Where Joe blows out his knee or what?
No,
what are we doing?
We're not talking about Joe Burrow. I'm not rooting for that. Obviously, he already had that happen.
The point we're making is no chance.
Really? Are you guys really?
I think statistically maybe they can, and I'm pretty sure Herbert already probably has better statistics. But then again, I have way more faith in Joe Burrow taking any team deeper in the playoffs than Josh Allen or Justin Herbert. So all those stats can mean squat when you have similar stats and you're going farther in the playoffs.
Yeah, that's the bigger point to take away. It's like statistically, I guess so. That's why with Josh, the rushing matters, but also I've seen Josh do it in the playoffs. Herbert had one chance, and it ain't the greatest game to debut in. I'll say that.
And that's fair. I guess my overarching point is that I think Allen and Herbert are closer to Burrow than Burrow is to Patrick Mahomes. This idea that Patrick Mahomes has any rival right now is just not true. That's more my thought process.
I think the way I look at it, and Lucas, you could disagree or agree, is there's Mahomes, and then there's the other tier of quarterbacks, which is Burrow. And I think Burrow is the top of that tier, though. I think he's better than anybody else.
I agree for now.
I don't know if I'd put him in the same tier as Mahomes, but certainly he's the second best quarterback to me.
Yeah, my tier goes Mahomes by himself. Then you have that second tier, which I think are like the superstar quarterbacks, and it goes Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen. You can put Hurts or Allen in whatever order. Then that tier under there, you have Trevor Lawrence, Justin Herbert, Aaron Rodgers, Lamar Jackson, and Deshaun Watson. That's how I have it.
I have a little update. So you do have to obtain tickets if you are not a ticket holder, but the tickets are free. Season ticket holders can get into practices starting July 29th, and then it's open to the public July 30th.
All right, well, there you have it. Training camp update. Can't wait for that, too. Football, just please hurry up.
God.
Please hurry up.
Let me just say this one thing really quick. DNC, ENT, are you really bringing up Burrowhead again? Really? Did you see what happened in last year's AFC Championship game?
Did you see what happened the 3 games before that?
Hey, but you know
not
what?
one, not 2, but 3.
When Joe Burrow had a chance to win the game twice with the score tied, he throws an interception on a 3rd and 3 arm punt for some reason. If people call that an arm punt, you're an idiot. And then he has a chance to get the ball back, punt. So I'm just saying that, as Travis Kelce said, Burrowhead my ass.
All I'm saying.
Stop with Burrowhead already.
How about this? Is this fair? Out of all the quarterbacks besides Mahomes, who's the most threat in Arrowhead?
Well, right now it's that's a tough one.
No, it's not.
It's not. It's Burrow. You know what? I would probably
Burrow.
say Josh Allen played better in those playoffs than Joe Burrow did.
See, now you're going back to. It's not about what they played. It's who has more wins in Arrowhead. Give it to me.
I think Josh Allen has one in the regular season, but okay, fine.
Okay, regardless, we're gonna go. We're gonna end the show here. I appreciate every single one of you guys for tuning in, showing love, choosing us this morning, the Morning Woodward Show. Don't forget before you leave, like the stream, and again, comment on the stream if you haven't already. And if you missed the show, you can go back and listen. Spotify, Apple, no matter what podcast platform you listen to. Again, from Jeff Iafrate, Sam Flannel, JB, Lucas Klotz, and Gabby D. Phillips, we thank you. And we'll have a great show planned for you tomorrow. But until then, we'll see you guys later.